It's already midnight and I still have to break my back driving a taxi to make a living. While cruising along the road, I was suddenly startled to see a girl dressed entirely in white, sitting ominously in the back seat. Extremely bewildered, I hastily slammed on the brakes and asked the girl when she had gotten on the bus. But she didn't react at all, just quietly said she would get off immediately. Then I looked in the rearview mirror and couldn't see the girl anymore. Suddenly, she went straight through the car door and calmly walked away. But after a short distance, she stopped again. Then she was sucked back into the taxi by some force. The sight terrified me to the point of fainting. This girl's name is Ji Hyun. She tried to wake me up, but realized she couldn't touch my body. Nor could she open the car door with her hands. However, Ji Hyun was able to walk through the car door. She wondered in confusion if she was dead. The next morning, I woke up and saw Ji Hyun still sitting beside me. So I screamed and ran out as fast as I could. Ji Hyun chased for a short distance, but I could no longer see her. I stood rooted to the spot outside, not daring to go back to the car. But then the urban management team showed up at my car. They were going to tow my car away for illegal parking. Seeing this, I rushed out to explain that it was my car. Then I asked the urban management officers to check if there was anyone in my taxi. The urban management officer opened the car door, and there was no one inside. Then he reported the situation to me. After hearing that, I felt relieved and got into the car. But as soon as I got in the car, I saw Ji Hyun again. Terrified, I still tried to sit down and talk to her. She said she didn't remember who she was and had forgotten everything. Ji Hyun asked me if I knew her, but I denied it outright because this was the first time I had met her. Ji Hyun said that when I fainted last night, she saw bloodstains on the car seat, so she suspected I had killed her. I immediately showed the girl the dashcam data. The video showed that the female guests from last night had smeared fake blood on my car seats. I demanded that Ji Hyun get out of the car immediately, but she said she couldn't leave this car. Then, she tried to walk out to prove it to me. As soon as Ji Hyun walked a short distance forward, she was blocked by an invisible wall. Then, Ji Hyun was sucked back into the taxi. She yelled angrily because she couldn't get out of the car. At this point, I realized it was time to pick up a regular customer, so I had to drive to pick them up. When the regular customer got into the car, Ji Hyun was also sitting in the passenger seat. But shortly after the car started, the customer suddenly had severe abdominal pain. The passenger immediately asked me to stop the car. After getting out of the car, he suddenly felt better. The client said that there seemed to be something a bit scary in my car that made him unable to stay in the car any longer. Then, he apologized to me and turned to leave. It was late and I still hadn't picked up any more customers. If it continues like this, how will I get the money to pay off my debts? Ji Hyun asked me if I had any proof that I had no customers because of her. I immediately turned on the meter and asked her to pay for the taxi from now on. But she immediately listed the penalties for drivers who arbitrarily raised fares for customers. Then Ji Hyun wondered why she knew these rules so well. I said I would find her family and ask them to pay me for the taxi. After that, I went to the police station. I used my talent for painting to create a portrait of Ji Hyun. I asked the police to help find her family. She might have died in an accident or from an illness. Ji Hyun ran to the mirror but couldn't see her reflection. The police officer told me that no girl matching the description I drew had died recently. I was deeply disappointed and left with Ji Hyun. At this time, the special investigation team is looking into a case. The female victim, Kang Ji Hyun, was abandoned on the street by someone. The first person to discover her was her biological father. As for me, I drove home and continued to blame Ji Hyun. It was because of her that I didn't earn a single penny today. If I don't make money to pay off my debts, she and I will be homeless, so I just hope Ji Hyun disappears so I can earn money. Then I angrily went inside, and Ji Hyun wanted to follow, but she couldn't leave this taxi. As Ji Hyun read the license plate, she felt it was very familiar. I went inside and locked the door, afraid Ji Hyun would follow. When she asked why I hadn't come home last night, I hugged her and acted spoiled like a child. The next morning, as I was sleeping, I felt blood dripping from the roof onto my face. I saw Ji Hyun hovering in the air, but it turned out to be just a nightmare. My grandmother woke me up, then asked me to take her to see a friend. As she was getting out of the taxi and about to sit in the front seat, I stopped her and told her to sit in the back because the front seat was dirty. She got into the car but couldn't see Ji Hyun inside. I wanted to call another taxi for her, but she refused, so I had to drive her to meet her friend. On the way, I carefully observed if she showed any unusual signs. Ji Hyun begged me not to park outside like last night. She wanted me to bring the car inside. Then she screamed again, which distracted me, causing me to lose control of the car and crash into a pile of garbage by the roadside. Fortunately, she was unharmed, but I was so angry with Ji Hyun that I took the car to a shaman, hoping to sever Ji Hyun's connection with the vehicle. The shaman continuously sprinkled salt on the car, but Ji Hyun only moved from one place to another. She couldn't leave the car. Then, the shaman used a bell to exorcise the car, but this only made Ji Hyun's ears ring slightly. Then, I received a call from a client. This client was a doctor. I drove off and told Ji Hyun that this client was very important, so I couldn't refuse because of her. I drove to a bus stop to pick up Dr. Gyu Jin. Ji Hyun tried to observe the doctor's expression, and she was glad he showed no unusual signs. When Gyu Jin was brought to the hospital, he began treating a patient who had just been brought to the emergency room. I suddenly remembered that my mother had been given first aid by Gyu Jin before, so I went into the hospital and asked my friend Soji, who was working there as a nurse, for a favor. I asked her to call Dr. Gyu Jin out to help me. I gave Gyu Jin some juice and told him how grateful I was. Ji Hyun saw this from afar. She wondered what kind of relationship they had, but since Ji Hyun had gone too far, she was pulled back into the taxi. That night, I drove home and wondered whether I should park there. Ji Hyun said she was very scared of the empty lot last night, so she begged me to park here tonight. I told her not to come into the house to disturb or hurt my grandmother. Then, I went into the house alone. That night, I posted a story on social media about a ghost appearing in my taxi. I asked if there was a way to get rid of this ghost, but no one believed my story. Then, someone commented that my car might be a phantom doorway and more ghosts would appear. The commentator's nickname was Prince Huang. The next morning, I continued to drive Ji Hyun around, looking for passengers. I saw a man waving for a taxi, so I stopped the car and asked if he wanted to get in. This man named Chung was extremely surprised. Then, he walked through the car door to get inside. It turned out I met another ghost. I was furious that my taxi had become a gathering place for devils. The two ghosts are now arguing over who will have their wish fulfilled first. I had no choice but to take both ghosts with me to work. Then, a man hailed a taxi, so I stopped to let him in. But as the man opened the car door, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his neck, so he refused to get into the taxi. This left me watching him helplessly. I returned home and found the two ghosts outside still arguing. I took out my mother's photo and wondered why I couldn't meet my mother, but instead encountered these two useless ghosts. The next morning, I drove to the taxi company. Ji Hyun and Chung followed me. They asked me to help them fulfill their wishes, but I ignored both ghosts. Suddenly, a young man named Kang Seok called Ji Hyun over. It turned out he was also a ghost, so he asked her to help him retrieve gold from his car. Because Kang Seok's daughter was ill, he planned to sell gold to pay for her treatment, but he had an accident. His wife, unaware of this, sold the car here. Ji Hyun then called me and said, "There's gold in this car." I searched the car and found a bag of gold inside. After that, everyone went to the hospital where Kang Seok's daughter was being treated. The little girl handed the bag of gold to her mother and said that an uncle had given it to her. He said it was from her father for her mother. The mother was extremely surprised to see the amount of gold in the bag. Kang Seok burst into tears and bowed his head to thank everyone. Then he disappeared, having fulfilled his wish. Kang Seok's daughter came and gave me a gold ring, saying her father told her it was my share. Afterwards, I told Ji Hyun that I would sell my taxi to pay off my debts. When Chung heard I needed 20 million won, he immediately said he would pay me the money. Chung said he worked in the VIP section of Daehan Hospital, which treated distinguished patients. At this point, Ji Hyun came up with a good idea. She told me to call this taxi a ghost taxi that transports ghosts. She would lure many ghosts into the car, and I would help them fulfill their wishes. Afterward, I would receive a lot of thank you money from those ghosts. I thought about the gold ring from earlier, so I agreed to start the ghost taxi service. A while after I got out of the car, Chung admitted to Ji Hyun that he had lied. He died in a work accident. Chung has an unfinished wish, so he cannot leave. Ji Hyun also said she couldn't let me sell this car because I'm the only one who can help her right now. Right now, I'm in the bathroom. I started imagining the scenario of making a fortune from the ghost taxi service. Then I would pay off all my bank debts. From then on, she and I could live happily together. A moment after I happily got out of the taxi, Chung confessed that he had lied. Chung had been married for only a month when he passed away. He saved a gold bar to build a bathtub for his wife. I angrily asked Chung if he knew that my wife and I were about to be kicked out onto the street. Chung is truly a swindler. At this point, Chung's wife, Soo Jung, also returned home, but I decided not to help him. I got into a taxi and angrily drove home. I called Ji Hyun a swindler. Then, I angrily went upstairs. Ji Hyun also flew up and persuaded me to help Chung. He actually had a gold bar. If I helped Chung renovate his house, I could earn 10 million won. While I was arguing loudly with Ji Hyun, my grandmother came in and asked who I was talking to. I lied and said I had just answered the phone. She asked me to check the bathroom because it was leaking. Ji Hyun continued to stay outside and refused to leave. I went in to fix the toilet plumbing. I looked back at the bathtub and remembered that my mother had promised to buy me one back in the day. Ji Hyun looked at my childhood photos and exclaimed that I was cute as a child. But now that I've grown up, I've become a pragmatist. A moment later, it started raining heavily outside. I stepped out and saw Ji Hyun sleeping on the sofa. Because it was raining heavily, I quietly returned to my room. The next morning, while I was driving the taxi, Ji Hyun kept begging me not to sell the car. I still haven't heard her last wishes. But then she realized I was driving to Chung's house. Chung was very happy to see us arrive. Afterwards, Chung told me that he had hidden a gold bar inside an old telephone in the house. Ji Hyun suggested I pretend to be an acquaintance of Chung's to break into the house. Afterwards, she told Chung to tell me about his fond memories with his wife. Chung recounted that he and his wife met at an orphanage. He never thought he and his wife could get married, but fate brought them together once again. Chung began to help Soo Jung adapt to her work. Seeing her skin peeling from overwork, he bought medicine and confessed his feelings to Soo Jung. To his surprise, she agreed. They were together for 10 years before marrying, but separated just a month after their wedding. Ji Hyun asked me to meet and tell Soo Jung that I was the cousin of a very close friend of Chung. Then I knocked on Soo Jung's apartment door and introduced myself as Ji Hyun had taught me. When Soo Jung opened the door, I pretended to cry and said that before Chung passed away, he had asked me to rebuild the bathroom. Chung said Soo Jung really wanted a new bathroom, but he didn't expect to leave so suddenly. When Soo Jung saw me crying, she invited me into her house. The three of us planned to distract Soo Jung so I could go look for the gold bar. I asked Soo Jung to get the rental contract because I wanted to see if there were any clauses allowing for home repairs. Hearing that, Soo Jung got up and went to fetch the rental contract. Ji Hyun followed to keep an eye on her while Chung led me to find the phone. I followed Chung's instructions and found the phone. But when I opened it, the gold bar was no longer there. At this moment, Soo Jung had also found the rental contract, so Ji Hyun shouted loudly to signal the other two. Soo Jung handed me the contract and said she didn't have enough money to fix the house. But I immediately said I had the money. Although I didn't find any gold bars in the actual phone, Chung remembered that he had transferred it into the air conditioner. I turned on the air conditioner to check and discovered that there was indeed a gold bar hidden there. I informed her that the contract allowed for bathroom repairs. Just then, So Young received a call from the insurance company informing her that she could receive compensation from Chung right away. After that, I took Soo Jung to the hospital where Chung used to work. They came here to discuss receiving compensation. When Soo Jung went out to see, she felt dizzy and fell to the ground. Ji Hyun wanted to follow them inside but was held back by the taxi's pull, so she had to stay alone in the taxi. At this time, 2 police officers arrived at the house and met my grandmother. They came here to investigate my mother's death. Then, Chang-soo asked her if on the day my mother was hit by a car, her taxi was parked at a shopping mall. So who brought that car here? She said that after my mother's funeral ended, she saw the taxi parked in the yard. She thought the police had returned the car. When Chang-soo asked if there was anything strange about the taxi, she called me to ask. On the day my mother had her accident, I said something was missing from the taxi. I replied that the black box had been lost from the car. At the same time, the insurance agent also came out to meet Soo Jung, so I quickly said goodbye to her. She also told police officer Chang-soo that the black box in the taxi had been lost shortly after my mother's accident. Chang-soo's subordinates also confirmed that the taxi had not been returned to the victim's family by the police. The insurance employee informed Soo Jung that Chung's workers' compensation was 300 million won. Just then, a woman and an old man appeared out of nowhere. The woman named Do-sik claimed to be Chung's biological mother. She cried pitifully for her son. Chung told me he was abandoned from a young age, so he didn't remember who his mother was. The insurance employee told Do-sik that Chung didn't seem to have a mother. The old man accompanying Do-sik immediately produced documents to prove she was Chung's biological mother. Do-sik then told Soo Jung that when she was in prison, she sent Chung to an orphanage. This was all the money she had saved for Chung. Soo-jung opened the insurance booklet and saw a childhood photo of Chung. When Soo-jung and her husband saw this photo, they began to believe that this was Chung's birth mother. Ji Hyun, who was standing outside, saw Soo-jung come out with an elderly woman. Do-sik invited Soo-jung to visit his son's ashes. Afterward, I drove Soo-jung to visit her husband's ashes. When everyone arrived at Chung's resting place, his mother took out kiwis to offer. Soo-jung immediately said that she had never seen her husband eat kiwi. Chung also told me that he had been allergic to kiwi since he was young. Do-sik then sat down to confide with Soo-jung. She deliberately asked about the couple's marriage registration. Soo-jung honestly replied that she and Chung had not yet registered their marriage because they both wanted to extend the preferential period for newlyweds to be able to buy an affordable apartment. Do-sik was pleased to hear this. Then, she left with a very satisfied expression. Afterwards, Soo-jung received a call from the insurance agent. He informed her that Do-sik would receive the entire compensation. It turns out Do-sik had called the insurance agent to report that Chung and Soo-jung were not registered as married. Soo-jung goes to ask Do-sik. She said she really needed money, so she did it. Later, when she received the money, she would give Soo-jung some. Chung was very angry when she realized the woman only showed up for money. Do-sik got in the car and told the old man that when Chung's mother was in prison, she talked about him all day, so she knew Chung very well. Thanks to that, today she received his insurance money. In the evening, I drove Soo-jung home. After that, Ji Hyun and I drove away. When we got home, I told Ji Hyun that I didn't believe Do-sik was Chung's mother because I am also allergic to kiwi, so my mother always worried about that. No biological mother would forget what her child is allergic to. For those who have lost a loved one, they would not be happy to receive insurance money because they feel like they are profiting from their family's life. Do-sik said it was a gift from Chung for her. If she were his biological mother, she wouldn't have said those words. Do-sik only spent 30 million won from his savings to receive 300 million won. Isn't it a bargain? When Ji Hyun said I must love my mother very much to understand so well, I told her my mother passed away in an accident 3 months ago. But the police still haven't found the person who hit her. The next morning, I called Suji to ask for Chung's mother's address. Ji Hyun and I went to that address. I rang the doorbell and knocked on the door, but no one was home. Remembering the number on Chung's urn, I managed to unlock the door. We carefully went inside. We found a picture of Do-sik with another woman. It's highly likely this person is Chung's mother. I showed the photo to Chung, but he didn't know if this was his biological mother. He remembered that when his mother took him to the orphanage, Chung had seen a scar on his mother's right hand. That scar is exactly the same as the scar on the woman in the picture. I went to tell Soo-jung that Do-sik might not be Chung's mother because Chung remembers his mother having a scar on her right hand. But Do-sik kept wearing gloves, so I couldn't confirm if she was Chung's mother. Even if Chung's biological mother returned, she wouldn't deserve Chung's insurance money because only his wife, who was always by his side, deserved that money. Soo-jung cried when she heard that and said if Chung were still alive and saw this scene, he would be very sad. I asked Soo-jung to contact the insurance staff to arrange a meeting. When everyone arrived at the hospital, the insurance staff asked Do-sik to roll his fingerprint to complete the money claim process. Do-sik took off his gloves. She did have a scar, but it was on her left hand. I took her right hand and removed her glove, but I still saw a scar on the back of her right hand. After Do-sik rolled her fingerprints, the insurance agent realized her fingerprints were too fake. Such fingerprints cannot be confirmed. When Do-sik heard this, she knew that Soo-jung wanted to use her fingerprints to compare with the ID card. She immediately became angry and questioned Soo-jung. Do-sik also asked if I was Soo-jung's lover. Then, she pulled a handful of hair to have Soo-jung undergo a DNA test. But how can Chung be confirmed if he is already dead? Soo-jung was so shocked by her attitude that she fainted. Dr. Gyu-jin examined her and announced that Soo-jung was 3 months pregnant. Soo-jung asked if the baby's DNA could be used to confirm identity. Ji Hyun said Korean law prohibits that, so I told Soo-jung that a DNA test would harm the baby. Soo-jung heard this and said she wouldn't do it anymore. As Soo-jung and I were resting outside, Do-sik came and said that the baby in her belly was not Chung's. This statement hurt Soo-jung, and she stood up and left. I stopped Do-sik from following her and said I would definitely show everyone her fake face. Soo-jung said she didn't need any more compensation as long as Do-sik stopped bothering her. Now Soo-jung just wants her child to be safe. Ji Hyun came home and told me we only have 2 days left. Otherwise, Do-sik will take the money and run away. But I said I needed to make a Yi bathtub. according to Chung's wish first. The next day, I and two friends went to Soo Jung's house to install the bathtub. Ji Hyun looked down at the table and saw Chung had won a gift certificate at the hospital, so she called me over to see. Do-sik and her lover were preparing to receive Chung's insurance money at the hospital. The insurance agent asked her to sign, and she would receive the money. Suddenly, I appeared and handed over a file. Do-sik picked up the file to look at it. It was concluded that she and Chung have 98% different DNA. This means she and Chung are not related, and his insurance money will go to Soo Jung. Do-sik asked me where I got Chung's DNA to run the test. I told him that before Chung passed away, he had a DNA card from this hospital. The day before, when Do-sik pulled my hair, I used it to run a test comparing it with Chung's DNA. Soo Jung loudly declared that she would accuse Do-sik of fraud. Terrified, she quickly led her lover away. I immediately chased after them, but they managed to escape. Soo Jung later told me that the police had taken up the fraud case. That evening, Ji Hyun told me that Soo Jung was the reason Chung was still in the mortal world, so perhaps Ji Hyun also had a reason why she couldn't transcend. There must have been a reason why she and I met. At this moment, we both looked at each other for a long time. After that, Ji Hyun wanted to high-five me to celebrate the victory, but we couldn't touch each other. At this point, Soo Jung called me because she saw me standing and talking to myself. Afterwards, I drove Soo Jung home. Soo Jung told me that she felt I was the one Chung had sent to help her. After that, she thanked me and went inside. Chung also followed her into the house. When they got home, Soo Jung discovered her front door had been left open. I checked the car and found that Soo Jung had forgotten the savings books that Do-sik had given her earlier, but in reality, they were left by Chung's biological mother. Suddenly, Chung ran down and told me to save his wife. Soo Jung was being held by Do-sik and her lover. They wanted to get their hands on the savings books. I rushed upstairs, but the door was locked from the inside. The two swindlers threatened Soo Jung with knives to return the savings book, but she said she had left them under the taxi. She even knelt down and begged them not to harm her child. Chung could only watch helplessly. He tried to break the lock so I could get in, but he couldn't budge it. Suddenly, a supernatural force helped Chung break the lock. I rushed in and hit the swindler. Afterward, the two swindlers were arrested by the police. Ji Hyun told Chung to say his final goodbyes to his wife. At this time, I also told Soo Jung the truth. I also said that Chung was sitting next to her now. I began to recount what Chung was saying to his wife. Chung once said that if he had a child, he would name it Ba-eun. But Soo Jung kept saying that name wasn't good. Soo Jung heard this and believed her husband was here. Chung, tearfully, told his wife to name their child Ba-eun, and that he would always watch over her and their child. Soo Jung cried and said she really liked the name Ba-eun. Chung apologized for leaving Soo Jung alone, but Soo Jung didn't feel lonely because she now had her child for company. Ji Hyun was so touched that she also shed tears. At this point, Chung stood up and disappeared as his final wish had been fulfilled. I went home and tried searching all over my mother's room. I want to find the hair clip I gave my mother when I was little. When my grandmother came in, she knew I was trying to find the black hair clip, so she took out her daughter's phone to show me a hairpin of my mother's that had a taxi charm hanging from it. Even the engraved letters on the taxi matched the hairpin Ji Hyun was wearing. Later, she discovered a photo in which my mother was with a very beautiful girl, and that person was Ji Hyun. This surprised me immensely. I showed Ji Hyun my mother's phone book to see if any names looked familiar, but Ji Hyun couldn't recall anything. She was sure that she and my mother were connected, so she couldn't leave my mother's taxi. The next day, as I was driving to work, I received a call from Officer Chang Soo. I immediately drove to where my mother had her accident. Upon arrival, I was reminded of the scene of my mother's accident, which caused me immense grief. Afterwards, two police officers and I went into a cafe to talk, but because this place was too far from my taxi, I asked two police officers to come out with me to talk. My main purpose was to have Ji Hyun overhear this conversation. At this time, Chang Soo kept asking me why I was at the scene when my mother's accident happened. It only took 30 minutes to get to Daehan Hospital from the scene, so why did I only show up at the hospital an hour later? Why didn't I take Mom's taxi and instead took another one? I immediately remembered that I had a barbecue appointment with Mom that day, but when I arrived, I saw that my mother had been in an accident. At that time, I was not allowed to get in the ambulance to go with her because I was also studying at the police academy, so I understood that I needed to secure the scene. So I didn't take my mother's taxi, but got another one to the hospital. I was stuck in traffic for a while, so I got out and ran to the hospital. I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now because the police are interrogating me like a criminal. I immediately told the two officers that it was my mother's birthday today, and yet you two suspect me of killing my own mother? If you have so much free time, go find some clues to solve the case." Then, I stormed off angrily. In the car, Ji Hyun continuously scolded the two police officers to try and comfort me. Later, I received a call from my grandmother, who reminded me to bring flowers for my mother. I went to the cemetery to lay flowers for my mother. Ji Hyun looked at my mother's photo and said she was very beautiful. I said my mother also loved to talk, so she became a taxi driver so she could chat with her customers. At this moment, a paparazzo was secretly taking photos of me. Meanwhile, you called Soji to invite her over. You promised to make seafood crepes for her. Soji also promised to visit her grandmother's house to enjoy banshio. Afterwards, she also reminded her grandmother to take her diabetes medication on time. She was very fond of Soji and wanted her to become her grandson's lover. But this time, at the hospital, a student had a serious accident and was taken to the emergency room. Gyujin provided first aid to that student. Gyujin informed the student's mother that the boy's condition was not serious. Then, Nurse Soji ran out and told Gyujin to return to the emergency room immediately. As Gyujin entered the emergency room, he immediately pushed aside Nurse Jung-soo, who was providing first aid to the victim. Gyujin attempted CPR on the boy, but it was unsuccessful. The medicine was injected into the patient's body. Then, Gyujin bowed his head and stepped outside. He informed the mother that the boy had passed away. That night, as I was driving to work, a drunk customer named Hwang Sung called a taxi. When he sat in the front seat, Ji Hyun immediately moved to the back. I drove to where Hwang Sung requested. Suddenly, Hwang Sung's eyes lit up. He reached out with one hand and touched my thigh, but I immediately used my other hand to hold his arm. Hwang Sung spoke to another personality within him, saying that he couldn't do anything improper here because there were female customers sitting in the back observing. I heard that and stopped the car. I asked Hwang Sung if he had really seen Ji Hyun. Ji Hyun was happy that there was another living person who could see her. Hwang Sung said he had read the story about the taxi and the ghost somewhere. At this point, I realized that Hwang Sung was the one with the nickname Hwang the Handsome who had commented on my post. Hwang Sung said he would help me get rid of this ghost. Then, Hwang Sung took out a charm and stuck it on the taxi, but he discovered that Ji Hyun was not from this taxi. Hwang Sung stuck the charm on my forehead again, but Ji Hyun still didn't disappear. Hwang Sung asked her to return to her place. Then, he intended to stick the talisman on Ji Hyun to drive her away. But I immediately stopped Hwang Sung and said that if Hwang Sung did so, I would report him to the police for harassment. After that, Hwang Sung gave me his business card and said Ji Hyun had to disappear so the client could get into my taxi. Only then did I make a lot of money. Then Hwang Sung left. I tried to search. I wanted to know what in the car was holding Ji Hyun back. I grabbed the book and walked away, but I didn't see her move. I held my phone and walked, causing Ji Hyun to be drawn in and fly into my lips. This made both of us incredibly awkward and a little flustered. I drove away and looked at Ji Hyun's pink lips. Then we both looked awkward. Only then did we both realize that the phone was what Ji Hyun was attached to, but the phone was locked, so we couldn't see what was inside. Ji Hyun said it probably wasn't her phone because it was too old. I was about to go to the convenience store to buy a drink. Suddenly, Ji Hyun disappeared because her phone ran out of battery. I searched but couldn't find Ji Hyun in the car anymore, and her phone was dead. I borrowed a phone charger from a supermarket employee, but it was an old phone, so it was very difficult to find a compatible charger. While I was sitting and thinking, a customer got into the car, so I took the drunk passenger home. Ji Hyun was standing on a dark cliff. This place felt like hell. She kept calling me to save her. Right now, I have a lot of customers. As soon as one gets out, another gets in, so the taxi is running at full capacity. I suddenly remembered Hwang Sung's words that Ji Hyun had to disappear for customers to get in the car. I picked up the phone and put it in the car's locker. The next morning, I looked very pensive. My grandmother said I had talked in my sleep yesterday. I yelled loudly to chase someone away. I asked to borrow the grandmother's phone charger, but it didn't fit my phone. I went to the car and consoled myself that since Ji Hyun was gone, no one would bother me anymore. At this point, my grandmother came over and asked what phone I was holding, but I told her I was about to throw it away. Then, I told her to get in the car so I could take her to the senior center. My grandmother casually picked up her phone and got out of the car. I saw her walk towards the trash can, so I ran after her, but I was too late. My grandmother threw the phone into the trash can. She said she would throw it away for me. I seemed quite sad, but I continued to drive to earn money. A while later, a female streamer got into the car and asked me to take her to a remote tourist area. Upon arrival, she paid me 202,011. I looked sadly at the sea, unable to stop thinking about Ji Hyun. When a couple asked me to take a photo, I mistook this girl for Ji Hyun. At this time, a girl I worked with at the taxi company was driving the Alzheimer's mother to work. Yoon-soo told her mother to wait while she went to the restroom. The mother sat in the car and watched a little girl playing outside. When Yoon-soo turned back, she couldn't find her mother. She immediately ran to Ju-sung and Jin-woo for help finding her mother. Yoon-soo cried and ran everywhere looking for her mother. Her two friends also searched everywhere but still couldn't find Yoon-soo's mother. At this time, Yoon-soo's mother was being taken to the police station because she kept following the cute little girl from earlier. The girl's mother suspected the woman wanted to kidnap her daughter. I saw Yoon-soo collapse and helped her up. Yoon-soo said that everyone treated her mother like a ghost. Just because she didn't remember who she was, everyone discriminated against her and didn't care about her. Only Aeon-soo knew who her mother was. Later, Yoon-soo received a call from the police. They announced they had found her mother, so Aeon-soo immediately went to the police station to pick her up. I drove home. In the car, I kept thinking about what Aeon-soo had just said. As for Ji Hyun, she saw the ghost of a woman holding a small child in her arms. Then she disappeared right in front of Ji Hyun. The next morning, I asked someone to unlock the trash bin to retrieve my phone. After that, I ran to all the phone stores to buy a charger, but none of them were selling it. At this point, Ji Hyun was also lying on the ground, panting from desperation. I took a picture of the phone's charging port and posted it online to buy a replacement. I bought the correct charger. As the phone was charging, Ji Hyun returned and lay in my arms. She thanked me for saving her life, but I asked her to pay me 50,000 won, which was the amount I had paid for the phone charger. Ji Hyun didn't expect me to spend 50,000 won on a phone charger. As I was driving to work, Ji Hyun kept recounting her terrifying ordeal in the dark. Later, a male customer got into the taxi, but he suddenly felt a severe stomachache and got out of the car. Ji Hyun asked about the buttons in the taxi. She pressed the fare button and discovered that I had earned 680,000 won yesterday. This time, the bank messaged me again, asking me to pay the interest. In the evening, Ji Hyun asked why I bought a phone charger. Why did I throw my phone away? I then said that since only I knew her, I couldn't bear to abandon Ji Hyun. She was very happy after hearing that. Suddenly, the car passed a girl in black standing by the roadside. As the car went a bit further, they saw that girl, named Ga Min, appear again. I immediately stopped the car and asked her if she wanted to go anywhere. Min-ga also got in the car and tried to scare me, but I remained calm. When the car arrived at Ga Min's destination, I asked her to pay the taxi fare. Ga Min said if I caught her, she would pay. She tried to run away, but Ji Hyun held her back. Ji Hyun and I continued to demand her taxi fare. Ga Min said that our business method was quite novel, so she would take us to a place with lots of ghosts to pay instead of the taxi fare. Since Ga Min is a bit busy right now, she will introduce another ghost to take us there. As soon as Ga Min disappeared, someone named M.I. Ray appeared. She led the two of us to a bus stop. M.I. Ray said that ghosts wouldn't appear at night, so she advised the two of us to come back during the day when the ghosts would be here in great numbers. The next morning, Ji Hyun woke me up to go to the bus station, and we began our ghost taxi service. When we arrived, we saw a lot of ghosts appearing there. Ji Hyun asked the ghosts to line up. Then, she introduced the wish fulfillment service of the ghost taxi. But after Ji Hyun interviewed many ghosts, their wishes were beyond my capabilities. Ji Hyun told me that she had to help me earn more than 680,000 won. At this moment, a guy with glasses came to talk to Ji Hyun. He introduced himself as Shin Woo. He attended the same high school as Ji Hyun. Ji Hyun was happy to hear that, as finally, someone knew her real name. After that, Shin Woo took Ji Hyun and me to his old cafe. He asked me to take out Ji Hyun's photos. Shin Woo pointed to a girl and said that she was Ji Hyun's best friend. She saw this girl in dark hell. Ji Hyun now knows she is 30 years old. Then, Shin Woo asked me to clean up his table and chairs. When I showed my surprise, Shin Woo promised to pay me a large sum. Shin Woo read me the password to open the safe and take the money. He said his last wish was to go to the movies and have dinner at a 5-star restaurant. He wants to go to a party and wear couple rings with the person he likes. The person he likes is Ji Hyun, but Shiwoo told me not to reveal this to her. After that, I started cleaning. While Shin Woo and Ji Hyun sat chatting happily together, I looked at the photo and seemed quite upset. Later, as I was driving away, Ji Hyun asked me how old she was. When I said she was only 26 years old, Ji Hyun asked me to call her Ani, but I insisted on keeping my original way of addressing her. Then, they both went to high school. Ji Hyun had attended, and they saw a picture of her winning a fencing tournament. The next day, I secretly went to meet Hwang Sung. I asked Hwang Sung about how to change a ghost's clothes. Hwang Sung demanded I hand over proof of the taxi groping incident. Only then would he answer. I gave him the USB drive containing the evidence. Hwang Sung told Ji Hyun to just go through the clothes to change. Afterwards, I bought a demon mirror from Hwang Sung, which allowed Ji Hyun to see herself clearly. Ji Hyun looked in the mirror and was very grateful her wish had come true. I said my wish was to go to Namsan with my girlfriend. Then, the two of us would make a lovelock keychain together. Ji Hyun laughed at that because the wish was too cheesy. I took out a set of my grandmother's clothes. I told Ji Hyun to try them on to see if they fit. When she passed by, she could indeed have worn a new outfit. But when Ji Hyun wanted to wear the old dress again, I said I didn't have that dress here. After that, I took Ji Hyun to a clothing store. I told her to go through the clothes to pick out new ones. But Ji Hyun felt guilty, because if she wore it, no one would buy it anymore. Shinwoo then challenged me to pay for the clothes. I immediately took out an expensive suit. After that, I went to inform the salesperson that I would buy it. Shinwoo wore the elegant suit and was praised by Ji Hyun. A moment later, I carried many bags of clothes and left. Shinwoo said he wanted to date Ji Hyun at the cinema. I immediately set up a projector to show them a movie. Shinwoo was angry because the cinema was too simple. I replied that I had just spent 1 million won shopping. The remaining money was only enough to come to this place. Shinwoo heard that and agreed to use this cinema. Then Ji Hyun appeared. I immediately put on a romantic movie for her and Shinwoo to watch together. Meanwhile, I put her phone on the table and left in anger. Ji Hyun also felt that I seemed angry with her. After the movie ended, Shinwoo gently said that he believed in the destiny between him and Ji Hyun. A moment later, as I was driving home, I asked Ji Hyun if she believed in fate with Shinwoo. She said that meeting lost friends again was truly fate. I angrily said that a ghost appearing in a taxi was fate. I was so angry that I drove away quickly. The next day, Shinwoo wanted to go on a date at a 5-star restaurant with Ji Hyun. I immediately threw a 5-star party at my house and ordered food from the restaurant. When Shinwoo requested romantic music, I played music on my phone. Then, I invited my grandmother to eat because Shinwoo and Ji Hyun couldn't eat the food. Shinwoo asked Ji Hyun to smell the wine with him. I was angry seeing their faces so close together, so I asked my grandmother to sing a song. Shinwoo wants to read Ji Hyun's poem. Their intimate actions made me angry. My grandmother was quite surprised to see her grandchild's expression. After that, I drove Shinwoo home. Shinwoo said his last wish was to wear couple rings with Ji Hyun. Because if Ji Hyun wore couple rings with him, both of them would be free. I was very panicked when I heard that. A moment later, I drove home but refused to go inside. Ji Hyun saw this and immediately flew out to ask what was wrong. I asked her what she thought of Shinwoo. Ji Hyun immediately praised Shinwoo for being very handsome, and importantly, he treated her much more gently than I did. I angrily said that the two of them should go to the other world together. Whether Ji Hyun goes or stays has nothing to do with me anymore. Ji Hyun sadly asked why I was angry. Her dating Shinwoo was also my setup. She was just trying to follow along. But now I'm telling her to go to heaven. Ji Hyun got angry and disappeared from the car. I regretted knowing I had just said something I shouldn't have. The next morning, I went to buy a pair of couple rings to fulfill Shinwoo's last wish. I thought of the scene where Shinwoo gives Ji Hyun a ring. The two of them look at each other happily and ascend to heaven together. As I drove home, I saw Ji Hyun had changed into a beautiful dress and was preparing to meet Shinwoo. I went into the house to get Ji Hyun's phone. After that, I drove her to the ring exchange. But then I decided to turn the car around. I no longer bring Ji Hyun to meet Shinwoo. Even though Ji Hyun said our business would fail, I didn't care. I drove home and went straight inside. When Ji Hyun stopped me, I walked through her to enter the room. Meanwhile, Shinwoo was still waiting in the confession room. After realizing I had broken my promise, he was very angry. A while later, I decided to drive the taxi alone and leave Ji Hyun at home. She sat with my grandmother waiting for me all night, but they never saw me return. While my grandmother praised her grandson endlessly, Ji Hyun continuously criticized me as erratic. Later, my grandmother also decided to call and ask where I was. It turns out I was in a sauna. I was wondering how to explain to Ji Hyun why I didn't take her to the confession. Then, While I was sleeping, someone came and touched my butt. That person is Hwang Sung. Hwang Sung explained that he was possessed by a general, which is why he did it. But I decided to call the police. Hwang Sung stopped me. I asked Hwang Sung if demons could be reborn if they fell in love. Hwang Sung could tell how I felt at that moment. He advised me against falling in love with Ji Hyun, as there would be no good ending for a human and a ghost. At this point, 2 police officers approached Ji Hyun's father. They wanted to investigate her death. The father said that Ji Hyun had a very close friend from high school. Her name was So Hee. She was pregnant last year but passed away not long after. Ji Hyun thought So Hee was murdered, but her father said it was an accident. At the time, Ji Hyun's father tried to stop his daughter from continuing her investigation, but she thought Paul So Hee was murdered by a doctor or nurse at Daehong Hospital, because the number of deaths in its emergency room had doubled in recent years. So he was a healthy person, but she died upon arrival at the emergency room. Ji Hyun's father tried to convince his daughter to believe the police's conclusion, but Ji Hyun said that So Hee had worked very hard to have a child, so she couldn't stop the investigation. The next morning, she kept calling me, but I didn't answer. She thought I had slept with So Hee last night and was very happy. She called So Hee and found out she was with me. Ji Hyun came into my room and saw a picture of So Hee and me from high school. Ji Hyun saw that I hadn't charged my phone, so she accused me of not caring about her and only being busy with my own love life. I'm taking So Hee to the hospital. She keeps scolding me for sleeping out all night and leaving her grandmother alone at home. She said she had 3 cups of coffee and would give one to Dr. Gyu Jin, but I told her Gyu Jin wouldn't like So Hee. At this moment, So Hee discovered her phone was about to run out of battery. This reminded me that I hadn't plugged in my phone charger at home, so I hurried back home. Ji Hyun was sulking, so she asked me if I was happy dating So Hee. They must be very happy. I told her she was just my friend. Then, I went to charge my phone. I asked Ji Hyun if she was jealous. Upon hearing this, she got angry and said that because I didn't charge her phone, she felt upset. I apologized and asked if she wanted to see Shin Woo. Ji Hyun immediately asked me to take her to see Shin Woo. As I drove to our meeting point, I thanked Ji Hyun for helping me earn money from the ghost taxi service. She felt like I was saying goodbye to her. I took out a set of clothes and shoes to give to Ji Hyun. She put them on and looked very happy. After that, she went inside to meet Shin Woo. I had also prepared myself mentally that I would not see Ji Hyun again. Shin Woo scolded me because I kept interrupting his confession plan. I explained that I was afraid Ji Hyun would disappear. Shin Woo said he would give Ji Hyun a ring later. He wanted me to stop interrupting him. Shin Woo then started confessing his feelings to Ji Hyun. He really wanted to go to the movies and to fancy restaurants with his girlfriend, but he waited until he passed the exam to do those things. Unexpectedly, Shin Woo passed away that day, and now he meets his first love, Ji Hyun, here again. Shin Woo heard that if ghosts fall in love, they will be reincarnated, so he wanted Ji Hyun to wear the ring and go with him, because she wouldn't be happy if she stayed here without remembering anything. After hearing his confession, Ji Hyun immediately thanked Shin Woo. He was the first person to tell her who he was after she lost her memory. Ji Hyun was happy to learn of Shin Woo's feelings, but she wanted to recover her memories with me. Shin Woo immediately said that ghosts and humans cannot be together, because if a ghost loves a human, they will also transcend. Therefore, if Ji Hyun wants to stay in the mortal world to regain her memories, she absolutely cannot fall in love with me. Even though Ji Hyun didn't agree to love Shin Woo, he was very satisfied that he had expressed his feelings. At this moment, I also decided to run up and hold Ji Hyun back. Shin Woo also disappeared in front of Ji Hyun. I opened my eyes and saw that she was still there. When the 2 of them went out, Ji Hyun asked me if I was happy she didn't go. Wasn't I? But I still tried to deceive my own feelings. I also asked why she wasn't going with Shin Woo. Ji Hyun said she wouldn't go anywhere until she regained her memories. Then, I drove Ji Hyun away, saying I would go find her memories. I took Ji Hyun to see Hwang Sung. I gave Hwang Sung a phone. As he was about to stick a talisman onto the phone, Ji Hyun yelled to stop him, causing the talisman to fall into a puddle of water. Hwang Sung explained that it was a good amulet for her brain, not an exorcism charm. A moment later, Hwang Sung stuck another amulet on Ji Hyun's forehead. At this moment, she remembered the past. She had congratulated So Hee when she announced her pregnancy, but So Hee had passed away in the hospital. Ji Hyun had also met a detective. The detective secretly took photos of So Hee's funeral, so Ji Hyun and I immediately went to the detective's office. Upon arriving, she remembered that the detective had said someone had secretly hired him to take photos of So Hee's funeral. I promised Ji Hyun I'd find that detective. When they got in the taxi, Ji Hyun said the detective called her a cop. So, were you ever a cop? I promise that if Ji Hyun remembers anything, I will take her there. Suddenly, a boy named Ha Jun opened the door and got into the taxi. This boy could also see Ji Hyun. Ha Jun admits that he can see ghosts. He could even say goodbye to his parents when they passed away. Ha Jun asks if this taxi can grant wishes. His older sister is missing, but the police and teachers all say she ran away from home. Yesterday was Ha Jun's birthday. His older sister had never forgotten his birthday, but yesterday, Ha Jun's older sister did not come home. The little boy pleaded with me for help. I took the boy home. Ha Jun's grandmother gave me some money to pay for his taxi, but I gave the money to Ha Jun to buy food. I helped him wash rice and cook it, while he took Ji Hyun to visit his older sister. Ha Yun's room. Ha Jun couldn't stop praising his older sister, saying she was a very good student. She was so well behaved that she would never run away from home. At this moment, my grandmother saw the bank collectors arriving to demand payment, so she immediately called to inform me. I immediately told Ji Hyun to go home right away. Ha Jun then asked if I wouldn't help him realize his dream if he didn't pay. Ji Hyun said, Ha Yun definitely didn't run away from home. If she's missing, everyone needs to go look for her right away. When I suggested the police search, Ji Hyun told me to go home alone and leave her phone here. After that, I drove the taxi home alone. Ji Hyun asked Ha Jun what gift her sister had promised to give him for his birthday. The boy said his sister had promised to give him a video game. Ji Hyun went to the video game store to find out where Ha Yun was. The store owner said that the girl had come the day before to buy a video game. Ji Hyun asked Ha Jun to inquire if Ha Yun had been accompanied by anyone. The shop owner said she was with a friend wearing a school uniform. Ha Jun said his older sister was definitely with Ri because she often visited his house to play with Ha Jun. Two girls were working part-time at the supermarket. Afterwards, Ha Jun went to see the supermarket manager to ask about his older sister. The manager said that Ha Yun had never been late for work, but she didn't come in today. Ji Hyun told Ha Jun to ask about Ri. The manager said that Ri was fired because she pretended to go to work to steal alcohol and cigarettes. It seems that before Ri quit her job, she said her parents were going on vacation, so she invited Ha Yun to her home. Ha Jun listened to Ji Hyun, so he directly asked the manager to call Ri immediately. The manager called Ri, but no one answered. Ji Hyun thought Ha Yun just went to Ri's house to stay overnight. Perhaps Ha Yun would go to school tomorrow. My grandmother is panicking because the bank announced they will auction off the house if I don't pay the interest on time. I keep reassuring her. I said I was about to earn enough money. Then, she showed me a special pothos plant. It's rare because of import restrictions. She asked her nephew to sell it to pay off a debt. Many people wanted to buy it. I asked how much money I would get if I sold it. But when I searched on Google, I discovered this philodendron was worth up to 5 million won. So I immediately posted this rare philodendron for sale online. As soon as I posted it, many people inquired about buying it. I went back to my room and thought about whether I should call Ji Hyun. Meanwhile, Ji Hyun on this side asked Ha Jun why I didn't call him. Ha Jun immediately told her to take the initiative and call me. Ji Hyun immediately argued back and asked why she had to call first. But immediately after, she also received a call from me because ghosts cannot talk on the phone. Ha Jun started recounting what Ji Hyun told me. But he embellished Ji Hyun's words, making her statement even colder. At this time, in Daehyun Hospital, Nurse Spas Soji saw Nurse Jung-soo steal 2 vials of medicine and put them in her pocket. Soji immediately went to Gyujin and reported that she saw Nurse Jung-soo put 2 vials of anesthetic into her pocket, which was also a blind spot for the camera. Gyujin told her to leave it to him. Meanwhile, Nurse Hee-jung handed Gyujin a list of emergency cases at Daehyun Hospital. Jung-soo had been working at the hospital for 4 years, and since then, the death rate had doubled. While the 3 nurses were having lunch with Jung-soo, they all received a message from Nurse Hee-jung. She asked the 3 of them to come to Gyujin's room immediately. The 3 nurses quickly went to see him. When they arrived, he gave them some money to celebrate. At this moment, Jung-soo took advantage of the absence of others to sneak into the storeroom. He opened a cupboard and took 2 bottles of medicine. This scene was recorded by a hidden camera. Jung-soo put the stolen medicine into his personal locker. The next morning, I went to Ha Jun's house. Ji Hyun said she wouldn't come to his house. When I said she would go look for Ha Yun, Ji Hyun and Ha Jun happily stood up. I went to school to find Mi. Afterwards, I sat eating fruit with her and a group of her female classmates. I asked Hyun if she was coming to Mi-ri's house to play because the supermarket owner said she had invited Hyun over. Mi-ri, who was sitting next to her, said that Mi-ri's parents were no longer going on vacation, so Hyun wouldn't be coming to her house anymore. Ji Hyun realized that Mi-ri was the leader of this girl group, so she told me to stay calm and not let them trick me. When I asked if the girls were the last ones to see Hyun before she disappeared, they immediately appeared anxious. A female student said that Hyun was rumored to be dating a man. They showed me a photo in which Hyun was standing and talking to a man. Mi looked at the photo and recalled that she was forced to meet this man to buy cigarettes. When he loudly scolded Mi, Hyun appeared to rescue her. Hyun also threatened to call the police to arrest him. Then she kicked him in the groin and quickly ran away with Mi. I wanted to ask Mi a few more questions, but Mi kept stopping her and answering for her. When I asked Mi if she went with Hyun to buy a game console, she immediately stood up and quickly left. The next day, I drove Ji Hyun to continue the investigation. At this moment, a motorcyclist was speeding from behind. He hit a woman crossing the street. I immediately ran out to check on the woman. When I saw the motorcyclist trying to flee, I immediately lunged forward and took the keys from the ignition. I choked the motorcyclist. Then, the police arrived and arrested the motorcyclist. I told Ji Hyun that ever since my mother was hit by a motorcycle, I go crazy every time I see such dangerous drivers. I spent all day wandering, putting up posters, looking for witnesses, and handing out flyers, hoping to find the person who stabbed my mother. At that time, my grandmother's diabetes was getting worse, but I didn't have money to take her to the hospital. My mother's taxi couldn't be sold either, so I drove the taxi to earn money. Ji Hyun secretly sat next to Mi to see what they were saying to Mi. Mi asked Mi not to tell anyone about this secret. A female student working at the supermarket brought out alcohol and cigarettes for Mi, but she asked the student to buy more. When Mi saw that Mi seemed to feel guilty towards her, Mi told Mi to go back to working at the supermarket. Ji Hyun got in the car and told me that it turned out Mi was working part-time to give Mi alcohol and cigarettes as tribute. Then, she told me to drive after Mi. Mi also saw me driving after Mi. I ran out and asked her for something, but she refused. But when Mi saw Ha-jun in the car, she agreed to get in the taxi. In the car, Ha-jun tells Mi that because Ha-in isn't home, she has fallen ill. Ha-jun asks Mi if she knows where her sister is. At this moment, Mi receives a phone call from Mi. In the evening, I arrived at a vacant lot as instructed by Mi. A man came out and asked if I was Han's uncle. After that, 2 other men came out with baseball bats to deal with me. The 3 of them, claiming to be Mi-ra's accomplices, started attacking me. I dropped my phone on the ground. Mi watched from afar. Then, she decided to flag down a car for help. Coincidentally, the people in the car were police officer Chang Soo and his colleagues. Now I can't fight off 3 thugs, so I'm constantly getting hit hard by them. Ji Hyun wanted to help me but couldn't do anything. I crawled to pick up my phone, but the thug hit my hand. As he was about to hit me again, 2 police officers appeared and took down the 3 thugs. I also realized that I had just been saved by 2 police officers. As I drove away, Ji Hyun scolded me for rushing out while they were holding baseball bats. If they hit me in the head, it would be very dangerous. I said I'd rather be hit than have my phone broken, because if the phone breaks, Ji Hyun will disappear. When she asked me if it was okay to drive with one hand, I said I had practiced beforehand because I wanted to hold my lover's hand while driving. After that, I went to the hospital for Ji to bandage my hand. Gu-jin said I didn't break any bones, so my hand just needs a bandage for a few days. Hee-jung came over and nodded at me. Ji-hun felt like she looked familiar. Yu-jin said a few encouraging words to me and continued working. When Ji-hyun and I walked out of the hospital, she was sure Ha-yun hadn't run away, so Mi-ra was trying to hide something. The next day, Mi-ra went to the supermarket and asked Mi-ri if she had called the police to arrest her brothers last night. She also threatened Mi-ri using her sister's safety. As for me, I printed many flyers to look for Ha-yun. I asked my colleagues to help me distribute the flyers. A while later, while I was distributing flyers, I received a call from Ha-jun. The boy gave me some bad news. I drove Ji Hyun to a deserted lake. The police informed me that Ha-jun's backpack and suicide note were found on her phone there. She left an apology to her grandmother and younger brother. Ha-eun might have left this world on her own, and the police are trying to find her body. Ji Hyun said it wasn't Ha-eun's suicide note because she had read all of Ha-eun's notes last time. She always referred to herself as Big Sister when writing to her younger brother. And why wasn't Ha-eun's phone locked? It was as if she had intentionally left her suicide note for others to read. It seems someone brought Ha-eun's belongings here. At the same time, Mi-ri was working part-time at a convenience store when Ha-jun called to report that the police had found Ha-jun's suicide note by the river. Mi-ri then picked up a coffee cup and threw it directly at Mi-ra. She did this to rescue the female student working at the supermarket. Mi-ri was not afraid and took the female student home. She came home to see me and told me everything. That day, Mi-ri was being bullied by Mi-ra and her gang when Ha-en ran to the rescue. Ha-eun even threatened Mi-ra that she would report them to the anti-school violence committee. Ha-eun and Mi-ra then grabbed each other by the hair, and Mi-ra pushed Ha-eun down a slope. Ha-eun hit a rock and passed out. Mi-ra touched Ha-eun's body and said she was dead, so she used leaves to cover Ha-eun's body. Mi-ri wanted to call the police, but Mi-ra stopped her. Mi-ra threatened that if Mi-ri told anyone about this, she would end up like Ha-eun. Afterwards, Mi-ra and her gang used leaves to cover Ha-eun's body. At that time, Mi-ri could do nothing. Now she begged me to take Ha-eun out of the mountain. The three of us went to the area where Ha-eun fell to search. Mi-ri was in shock and couldn't continue, so Ji Hyun and I kept searching. At this moment, Ha-eun was covered by leaves, but her hands suddenly moved when she heard her name being called. Ji Hyun told me that if Ha-eun was truly dead, her soul would still linger here. But Ji Hyun saw no spirit, so Ha-eun might still be alive. Then I tripped over a tree and fell. Unexpectedly, Ji Hyun was able to grab me with their hand. Ji Hyun discovered Ha-eun lying underneath. I immediately ran over and brushed the leaves off her. I found Ha-eun was still alive, but her body was cold. I quickly took Ha-eun to the emergency room. Ju-jin personally carried her onto the stretcher. I told Mi-ri to go home first. "I'm here." Ju-jin went into the room and pulled Jung-soo out. Ju-jin announced that he had been fired as of this moment. Afterward, the boy Ha-jin and his grandmother also came to the hospital. Everyone waited anxiously outside the emergency room. Inside, Ju-jin was trying to perform CPR on Ha-eun, but the electrocardiogram machine showed flat lines. As the nurse invited Ha-eun's grandmother in to report the situation, Ha-eun's soul suddenly appeared. The little girl shed tears and thanked me and Ji Hyun for helping her reunite with her brother. Little Ha-jin was also very panicked because he knew his sister's soul had left her body. After that, Ha-eun also disappeared right in front of her brother, which made Ha-eun cry. In the emergency room, Suji told Gyujin not to try anymore, but suddenly the electrocardiogram machine beeped again. Ha-eun's pulse also returned due to the spontaneous recovery of her heart rate. Afterwards, Ha-eun narrowly escaped death and woke up. Her grandmother gave me a wad of money to thank me, but I returned it and told her to use it to send Ha-eun to college. Ha-eun hugged me and said that her taxi had fulfilled the boy's wish. Mi-ri came to the hospital to visit Ha-eun. Ha-eun wasn't angry with her best friend and talked happily with Mi-ri. Meanwhile, Mi-ra was taken to a youth detention center. Outside, Jung-soo was packing to leave the hospital as he was caught on camera stealing medicine. He ambushed and grabbed Gyujin by the neck, saying Jung-soo knew Gyujin was pretending to be a good person. Jung-soo was about to hit him when Suji appeared and threatened to call security, so Jung-soo had to pack his belongings and leave the hospital. Suji felt worried and said she would take Gyujin home, but he then asked Suji to go to dinner with him. A radio news bulletin began to share a letter. The owner of that letter was a boy named Ha-jun. In the letter, the boy wanted to introduce a male taxi driver. "When your sister went missing, everyone abandoned her. Only I tried my best to find Ha-eun. She fell down the mountain just 10 minutes later, and Ha-jun will never see her again, so you should be very grateful to me." In society, there are still wonderful taxi drivers. They help the elderly go on picnics once a month. They personally take patients to the hospital instead of an ambulance. There are also female taxi drivers, along with the mother who lost her memory. They are vehicles filled with happiness. Ji Hyun and I were delighted to hear this news. She asked me what my dream was. Because I always worked hard to fulfill the wishes of spirits, now Ji Hyun will fulfill my wish. He leaned closer to her and asked what her wish was now. After that, I made the bed for my mother as Ji Hyun said she wanted to sleep on a soft bed. I also installed a cushion on the passenger seat of the taxi so that Ji Hyun could sit more comfortably. I also picked up a lemon-scented deodorant that Ji Hyun liked. As the two of us were gathered to smell the deodorant, Ji Hyun remembered what Shin Woo had told her. If a ghost loves a human, it will also be freed. So she immediately moved away from me. Then, Ji Hyun asked me to tell her my wish. I said I wanted to go to Namsan with my lover to hang a love lock. Now I want to go there with her. I frankly admitted that I liked her, but Ji Hyun immediately said she couldn't like me back because ghosts and humans can't love each other. I'm alive, but Ji Hyun is dead. If I liked her, there would be no future, only suffering, so I no longer need to treat her well. Afterwards, I asked her if she was moved because I treated her well. After that, the two of us also went to Namsan. Ji Hyun asked me to call her Unnie from now on, but I argued that no one calls the person they love Unnie. Afterward, I carved my name and Ji Hyun's onto the love lock. She asked me not to draw a heart in the middle, but rather a triangle or a square, yet I still decided to draw a heart between the two names. Despite being judged by other couples for coming alone, I happily hung my love lock on the bridge. Unexpectedly, I ran into Gyujin and Soji there too. Gyujin said the two of them went to dinner together and then came here for a walk. Ji Hyun looked at this doctor and remembered that he had bandaged her wound when she was alive, and that she had registered for a date with this doctor. She immediately told me to show her photo to Gyujin. I showed him the photo and asked if he knew Ji Hyun. The doctor said that she had been his patient, but unfortunately she had passed away. Gyujin also said that Ji Hyun is a very smart and kind detective, so Ji also told her to go to the emergency room because of an accident. Dr. Gyujin asked why I was asking about Ji Hyun. I replied that I saw her taking photos with my mother, so I was curious to know who she was. So Ji asked if I came here alone. No matter how long I've been single, I shouldn't come to a place like this alone. Ji Hyun was delighted to learn that she was indeed a female inspector. After that, I gathered all my courage to ask Gyujin if he was dating the girl in the photo, but the doctor immediately shook his head. This action made both Soji and I breathe a sigh of relief. In the car, Ji Hyun was very proud of herself for being a kind detective, but I argued that what if she were a corrupt detective who took bribes? She was also rejected by Gyujin for a date. Ji Hyun immediately said that she must have mistaken the date. A while after Ji Hyun entered the room, she saw me searching for information about her accident, but I found nothing, so I decided to go to the police station tomorrow to ask. The next day, I went to the police station and showed two police officers a photo of Ji Hyun and her mother. I wanted information about Inspector Ji Hyun's family because she and my mother passed away on the same day. I want to know what her relationship is. To my mother, Chong-soo told Ji Hyun and her mother that they only knew each other when they were in the same taxi and the two accidents were unrelated. Ji Hyun's family is currently in great grief, so I shouldn't go there as it will only make them more heartbroken. Ji Hyun then told me not to give up. I said that my mother has been gone for 4 months and the police still haven't found the culprit responsible for the accident, so now I will go catch the culprit myself. I'm still trying to get Ji Hyun's family's phone number. Gyujin kept thinking about the photo I showed him, so he asked Soji about me. Jung-soo was standing outside at this time. He entered and shouted Gyujin's name loudly. He even pulled out a knife. After a struggle, Jung-soo slashed Gyujin on the shoulder. Afterward, security appeared and chased Jung-soo away. I went to see Hwang Sung alone to ask what ghosts like. Hwang Sung said I was being enchanted by Ji Hyun, but that was good because it could help her transcend. No matter how much Ji Hyun hates me, as long as she knows how to love, she can go to heaven. I went home and remembered that Ji Hyun deliberately avoided me every time I showed her affection, and so I resolved not to show my feelings for Ji Hyun anymore. 2 police officers arrived at the hospital to investigate why Nurse Jung-soo had attacked Dr. Gyujin. The doctor said that Jung-soo probably hated him for being fired. He stole the hospital's anesthetic, and the scene was caught on camera. As the 2 police officers left, Hee-jung ran after them, saying she wanted to report something strange about Jung-soo. Since he started working at Daehan Hospital, the number of deaths in the emergency room has increased significantly. Yoo-jin asked Hee-jung what she told the police. She also told him what she had just reported to the police. Kyushin immediately praised her for doing a great job. As I was driving my taxi to work, I saw my grandmother acting as a crossing guard at an intersection. I ran out and asked why she was working there. I was very worried about her health, but she said we would talk when we got home. She bowed to the old man she worked with, who was standing across the street, but went home and told my grandmother to quit her part-time job. When my grandmother was still stubborn and refused to quit, I asked her if she was dating the old man standing opposite. "Are you dressing so nicely every day because of him, aren't you?" When my grandmother heard this, she was very angry and said she would quit. Ji Hyun blamed me for saying such outrageous things. I said that my grandmother only worked to help me pay off my debt, but now that the interest has been paid, my grandmother and I are temporarily not being kicked out of the house. But I don't know when I'll be able to pay off all my debts. Ji Hyun returned to her room and sat down to think about how to attract more customers, but she couldn't come up with any suitable ideas. The next morning, Ji Hyun saw my grandmother happily preparing breakfast for me. My grandmother kept muttering that I was too worried about her health, so she wouldn't let her go to work. She also wanted to marry me off to a good girl before she passed away. I went out and apologized to her for being angry with her last night. My grandmother knew that I was worried about her, so she didn't blame me. After that, she told me to enjoy the food she had prepared. A moment later, Ji Hyun got out of the car and greeted me, but I tried to act indifferent. Remembering Hwang Sung's warning, I coldly drove the taxi alone and left Ji Hyun at home. Afterwards, I went to the detective agency. I came here to meet Detective Ji Bong to investigate. I showed Ji Hyun's photo and asked Ji Bong if he knew her. The detective said that because of her, he had been summoned to the police station many times. After that, he found an excuse to drive me away. I still tried to ask for Ji Hyun's relatives' contact information, but he kicked me out of the office. A moment later, Ji Bong picked up a business card. He recalled that Ji Hyun's father had come to see him. Ji Hyun's father took out a business card and introduced himself as a police officer. He asked Ji Bong to hand over the photos he had secretly taken of Ji Hyun. Ji Bong refused, stating he could not reveal the secrets of his clients and that he had deleted the photos. Ji Hyun's father said that cooperating with him was the only way for Ji Bong to survive. Because the detective knows the secret of the person who hired him to take the photos, that person won't leave him alone. I came to Daehyun Hospital to see So-ji. I want to ask for more information about Ji Hyun's accident. So Ji said she was taken to the emergency room. Later, Ji Hyun was transferred to the intensive care unit and suddenly passed away due to cardiac arrest. When I asked for Ji Hyun's family's contact information, So-ji refused to disclose the hospital's client information. In the evening, I drove home and apologized to Ji Hyun, telling her I had an urgent matter that forced me to leave her home alone. Ji Hyun said I'm the business manager for a ghost taxi. How can I leave her behind? But I said that she and I don't need to be together all the time. Ji Hyun followed her upstairs and told me she remembered many incomplete memories all day, but they all related to Daehyun Hospital, so she wanted me to go to the hospital with her to find clues, but I used every excuse to refuse her. Then, I saw Ji Hyun crying in pain, so I had no choice but to take her to Daehyun Hospital for an investigation. Ju Jin saw me standing there talking to myself, so the doctor came over and asked why I was at the hospital at this hour. I said that an acquaintance was hospitalized, so I had come to visit. Yu Jin left as he turned back to look. He saw me talking to myself again. Ji Hyun and I went into the medical equipment room to investigate. When a dark mist descended, a male ghost named Ma Dong appeared. He explained that he was not an evil spirit because Ma Dong still wanted to meet someone, so he remained here. He said that he had been here for 5 years, so he knew a lot about what had happened in this hospital. Then, he asked the two if they were from the ghost taxi. After that, he asked them to help him fulfill his last wish. When Ma Dong said he had no money, Ji Hyun immediately refused his request, but he promised to provide them with information about this hospital. After hearing him out, I immediately agreed to help Ma Dong. Ji Hyun stopped me, saying I didn't need money to pay off debts. I said the most important thing now was to investigate her accident. Then, Ma Dong led the two of them to where his ashes were kept. He said his greatest wish is to find his daughter Se-ra. After Ma Dong's wife passed away early, he was too busy making money and sent his daughter to his sister's house. Ma Dong rarely visited his daughter, and after that, Se-ra went abroad to study. Later, Ma Dong discovered that his daughter strongly disliked him. She also cut off contact with her father's sister, so Ma Dong hoped I could help him find Se-ra. When the three of us were in the taxi, Ma Dong told me to go to the police station to meet Inspector Kang, because Ma Dong was also a police officer when he was alive. Inspector Kang is your colleague and seems to have Se-ra's number. When I arrived at the police station, the staff said Inspector Kang was on leave. By law, the employee cannot give me his phone number. Therefore, I had no other choice but to leave my number, and the employee will give it to Inspector Kang. The three left sadly, but Ji Hyun felt the place was very familiar to her. At this time, a couple was taken to Daehyun Hospital for emergency treatment. They were in a very serious accident. Yoo Jin and the nursing staff performed emergency resuscitation on the couple. A moment later, the wife regained her heartbeat, but the husband did not survive. The ghost of the husband began to leave his body and told Yoo Jin that he and his wife had just gotten married today, but he had been walked through by Dr. Yoo Jin. Yoo Jin confirmed the deceased husband. The husband tried to hold his wife's hand but couldn't. He burst into tears and disappeared. Ji Hyun and I stood outside watching sadly. When the two of them returned home, Ji Hyun told me that she had tried to act cold towards me so that she wouldn't be reincarnated. But today, witnessing the heartbreak of the newlyweds, Ji Hyun realized that no matter how much they loved each other, they would eventually have to part ways. So Ji Hyun and I will never be able to be happy together, but she still longs for me to be by her side as I am now. I then said that I would always be there when she needed me. Then, he gently kissed her lips. At night, Ji Hyun kept thinking about the kiss, and I regretted confessing my feelings so cheesily. The next morning, she was very surprised to see me dressed up. So she immediately asked me if I was going on a date. I nodded yes. She was so happy to hear this news that she immediately gave me a beautiful haircut. She also helped me choose an outfit that was suitable for my first date. When Ji Hyun saw my serious appearance, she couldn't help but laugh. She adjusted a few details on my outfit and complimented my good looks. While we were in the taxi, Ji Hyun asked where I was taking her. I replied that I was taking her on a date. Last night, I researched the schedule all night. I wanted our first date to be very romantic. I wanted to take Ji Hyun to a restaurant and an amusement park, but she insisted on going to the lake to enjoy the scenery because she wanted to save money for me. Afterwards, the two of us went for a walk. I asked Ji Hyun to hold my hand, but this time we couldn't. I said we held hands last time. Ji Hyun then tried her best to hit me, but their hands passed through each other. She tried again, but their hands still couldn't touch. After a while, Ji Hyun and I watched the sunset together, and she thanked me for always being by her side. I said that Hwang Sung told me that if a ghost truly loved me, he would go to heaven. But why is Ji Hyun still here? I doubted if she truly loved me, and Ji Hyun doubted my feelings. I said I would do everything I could to prove my feelings, but Ji Hyun got angry and said she wanted to go home. After that, the two of us left together. When I entered the house, my grandmother asked me if I had a good date today. I replied that I was not happy because she doubted my feelings. Ji Hyun heard this and angrily returned to her room. I went to see Hwang Sung and told him the truth. Ji Hyun and I are truly in love and confessed our feelings, but why is her soul still here? Hwang Sung said that maybe they didn't really love each other, or she was some other kind of entity, not a ghost. I went home and got a call from Inspector Kang. He immediately asked if I remembered Ma Dong. The next morning, I told Ji Hyun that Inspector Kang had called me the previous night to see him, so Ji Hyun and I should stop arguing. Ji Hyun said she used to be an inspector, so she wouldn't let emotions affect her work. After that, the two of us went to a cafe with Ma Dong to wait and meet Inspector Kang. When Ji Hyun saw him appear, she was deeply moved. She cried and felt heartbroken, so she immediately went to the taxi. I rushed out worriedly to ask about her condition. Ji Hyun said she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her chest. I should go in there and continue. Inspector Kang owed Ma Dong a favor when he was alive, so Inspector Kang wanted to find Ma Dong's daughter to express his gratitude. So I want to find out more information about Se-ra. Inspector Kang said Se-ra lives in America, but she is currently in Korea. Se-ra came here to attend a conference. Suddenly, Inspector Kang remembered he needed to give Se-ra something. Then, as the three of them returned to the hospital, Ma Dong revealed to me that Young-soo's locker contained a very dangerous drug, but Ma Dong only told half of the secret. Ma Dong will reveal more when his wish is fulfilled. He proudly attended the robot technology conference where Se-ra spoke. Ji Hyun felt unwell sitting next to Inspector Kang, so she told me she was going out for a while. When the speech ended, Ma Dong went on stage to get a better look at his daughter's face. He kept saying he missed you so much. Inspector Kang and I approached Se-ra one by one, introducing ourselves as acquaintances of Ma Dong. But Se-ra said she had no connection to him. She didn't want to hear about him. Inspector Kang gave Se-ra a USB drive and said Ma Dong always carried it with him and looked at it every day. Now Inspector Kang returns it to Se-ra. It's her right to throw it away or keep it. After saying that, Inspector Kang leaves. I chased after Se-ra and told her that her father was actually standing here. His soul was standing in front of her, but Se-ra said she was a scientist, so she didn't believe in such ghosts. After that, I recounted what Ma Dong was saying. He apologized for sending Se-ra to her sister's house when she was little, after his wife passed away. He also apologized for not buying his daughter a strawberry cake on her birthday. But Se-ra didn't want to listen and left. Then she decided to plug the USB into her computer. Se-ra watched a video. It documented the process from when she was born until she was in middle school. In the video, Se-ra's father also appeared, but Se-ra closed her computer and stopped watching. The next day, Ma-dong looked at his daughter from afar and said that he now had to let go of all his obsessions and leave the world. Because he was satisfied with Se-ra's talent, as Se-ra stepped up to audition before her speech. Suddenly, a light fell. Ma-dong flew to hug his daughter and dodged the light. Se-ra also felt her father's soul had saved her life. I went to see Se-ra and told her that my mother had an accident and passed away a few months ago. I want to apologize to Mom, but I can't because she passed away too suddenly. I can see the spirits of the dead, so I met Se-ra's father. But I can't see my mother's spirit, and I know my mother is always watching over me. So is Se-ra's father. He wandered the world for 5 years just out of concern for her. The next day, I informed Ma-dong that Se-ra had called to arrange a meeting with him, which greatly excited Ma-dong. Se-ra asked me to accompany her to her father's cremation site. Everyone arrives at Ma-dong's resting place. Se-ra asks if he is still there. When I say Ma-dong is standing next to her, she says she used to hate and resent her father. She knew that father had saved her life yesterday, only now did she understand that father had not abandoned her. It turned out that her father missed Se-ra as much as she missed him. Se-ra knew her father loved her, but she didn't understand why he valued his work more than his daughter. However, Se-ra no longer harbored resentment towards Ma-dong, so he could leave the world in peace. Ma-dong hugged his daughter and disappeared into thin air. Se-ra burst into tears. Ji Hyun and I went to Daehan Hospital to find out what the strange medicine in Jung-soo's medicine cabinet was. I begged So-ji to let me see Jung-soo's closet, because I needed to confirm something. Although So-ji refused the request, I continued to plead, and So-ji agreed to help me. But then So-ji announced that Jung-soo had cleaned out the closet. I immediately asked for his address. So-ji advised me not to try investigating further, but to focus on working to take care of her. Let the police investigate this matter themselves. But I want So-ji to give me Jung-soo's address. When Ji Hyun and I arrived at the apartment where Jung-soo was living, we found the ghost of a girl named Mi-kyung there. She asked me to help her find Jung-soo. When Mi-kyung returned, her face was gone. Then, her true face appeared. Mi-kyung led the two into Jung-soo's house, which was also where her body lay. I asked if Jung-soo was the cause of her death, but Mi-kyung insisted that Jung-soo treated her very well, so he wouldn't harm her. Mi-kyung asked me to help her find Jung-soo. She cannot ascend if she doesn't meet him. I entered Jung-soo's room and saw many funeral photos plastered on the walls. There were also pictures of Ji Hyun mourning, So-ji, and a picture of me crying at my mother's funeral. At this moment, Father Kang arrived at a hospital. He entered an intensive care unit room to visit his daughter. She was lying unconscious and breathing with the help of a ventilator. And suddenly, she had a seizure. On this side, Ji Hyun felt her soul melting. In the hospital room, doctors and nurses rushed in to check on and inject Ji Hyun. They informed Ji Hyun's father that she was out of danger. On this side, Ji Hyun's soul also returned to normal. When Mi-kyung entered, I said that until now she still did not admit that Jung-soo was the culprit. Mi-kyung said this was the first time she had seen these photos. These photos were not here before, because she cleaned this room every day. Mi-kyung was sure Jung-soo was not the culprit. As I went out and intended to report Mi-kyung's death to the police, Hee-jung suddenly returned home. She realized that she had met me once before. Upon entering the house, she saw a dead body lying on the floor. Afterward, the police came to investigate the scene and arrested me because Hee-jung had reported to the police that I was the perpetrator. When I was taken away, she informed Ju-jin that I had been arrested by the police. It turned out Hee-jung had known Ju-jin for a long time. As a child, Ju-jin was repeatedly beaten by the chairman's father. At that time, Hee-jung ran to rescue him and threatened to call the police if Ju-jin's father didn't stop hitting his son. Hee-jung told Ju-jin that from now on, she would stay by his side to protect him. The two police officers looked at all the photos taken at the funeral, and they temporarily concluded that Jung-soo was the perpetrator of these deaths. I was taken to the police station and had to hand over all my personal belongings. I was locked in a cell. Ji Hyun sat with me and apologized, saying that if she were alive, she could testify for me. But now, Ji Hyun is just a useless ghost. I said I was innocent, so I would be released sooner or later. I am in prison with the one I love, so I don't want to go out anymore. As long as I can be with Ji Hyun, I'll accept it even if it's hell." Ji Hyun smiled and said she felt the same way. Then, my 3 colleagues came to visit me. I said I was misunderstood and would be released soon. I also told everyone not to tell my grandmother about this. A colleague came up with the good idea to tell her that I had taken a foreign client away for a few days. My grandmother received a call from Jin Woo. Jin Woo informed her that I had taken a client on an overseas trip and would not be able to return for a few days. The rule when transporting foreign customers is not to use personal phones, because customers get very annoyed when drivers keep speaking Korean, so I hung up the phone. My grandmother believed this reason. Ji Hyun started supporting my statement to the police. Chan Suk asked why the apartment door was locked, how I got into the house. I said the door was already open. There was a magnetic flyer stuck to the door, so it wasn't locked. When Chan Suk asked why I went to Jung Soo's house, Ji Hyun advised me on how to answer. I suspect he attacked my mother because Soji previously told me that Jung Soo stole medicine from the hospital and was fired. I find him very suspicious. The building where Jung Soo lived was also close to where my mother had her accident. Not long after, the police opened my cell door. They informed me that I was being released because the autopsy results showed that the body in the apartment had been dead for over a week, and my fingerprints were not on the syringe. Police found the motorcycle, helmet, and gloves in a deserted area. DNA test results from hair strands stuck to the helmet belonged to Jung Soo, leading the police to conclude that he is a serial killer. I asked if he was the one who killed my mother and Ji Hyun, and Chansuk replied that Jung Soo was very likely the culprit. The police are issuing a nationwide arrest warrant for him, so I shouldn't investigate on my own. Unfortunately, someone drove a motorcycle to a deserted area, and it was that motorcycle that hit my mother. The person intentionally left the motorcycle here so that the police could find and investigate. As I prepared to leave, I suddenly saw a photo of Inspector Ji Hyun. In the photo, she was standing next to Inspector Kang. Ji Hyun also remembered that he was her biological father, and they had taken this photo together. Ji Hyun immediately burst into tears. Ji Hyun told me that she could only recall memories of the day she took photos with her father. Ji Hyun also asked me not to tell Inspector Kang that she was by my side, because if he knew she was a ghost with no memories, he would be heartbroken. After that, both of them went to Ji Hyun's biological father's house. I asked to enter the house and said I had something to discuss about Ji Hyun. I told Inspector Kang that my mother was a taxi driver named Jin Suk. 4 months ago, she was in a traffic accident and passed away. Coincidentally, Ji Hyun also passed away that very day. The two of them were quite close. I also showed them a photo of them together. I also said that I was quite close to Ji Hyun. From the beginning, I thought my mother's accident and Ji Hyun's were related, so I investigated in secret. When Inspector Kang said the police suspected Jin Suk was the culprit, but I said I still doubted the police's conclusion, so I came here to ask how Ji Hyun died. Inspector Kang still doesn't believe me. He needs more time to think. In the evening, when I went home, I looked out the window and saw Ji Hyun crying in her car, so I went out to comfort her. Ji Hyun said she cried because she felt guilty towards her father. At this moment, she realized something strange. She heard that ghosts who loved each other would be reincarnated. Ji Hyun also knew who she was and had met her father. The day she was at Jung Soo's house, her soul melted away but could not yet ascend. If the culprit were truly caught, then Ji Hyun's soul would be able to truly ascend. I sadly asked her if she really wanted to break up with me. Ji Hyun then said that she didn't mean it. On this side, Ji Hyun's father was talking to his unconscious daughter. Today, I've come to ask you about her death and Jin Suk's. Because Inspector Kang didn't believe me, he didn't tell me Ji Hyun was still alive. The next morning, Ji Hyun apologized to me for not intending to leave me. I told Ji Hyun I didn't blame her. I knew that only when the real culprit was caught could my mother find peace. Ji Hyun can also go to a good place, then she won't have to wander anymore. I wanted Ji Hyun to be with me forever, but I knew that sooner or later we would have to part. Breaking up with Ji Hyun has been very painful for me. Finally, I apologized to her for yesterday. After that, we went to see Mi Kyung together. Mi Kyung confirmed that Jung Soo treated her very well, but he was then accused of murdering Mi Kyung. Every time a patient died in the hospital, Jung Soo was the one most heartbroken. Mi Kyung insisted that he hadn't harmed them at all. Ji Hyun asked Mi Kyung to think about who had killed her, but Mi Kyung was not lucid at the time due to the effects of medication, so she couldn't remember the culprit. However, Mi Kyung was certain that Jung Soo was not the culprit. Afterward, Mi Kyung led me and Ji Hyun to a house which was possibly where Jung Soo was hiding. Mi Kyung said that she and Young-soo used to fish here with Hee Jung. This villa belongs to Hee Jung. Ji Hyun wondered about Hee Jung's wealth. Then, Mi Kyung said that she was only from an orphanage. I tried to open the doors, but they were all locked. Ji Hyun said that she and Mi Kyung would go in to look, but this time, Ji Hyun was watching through the camera. He saw me at Hee Jung's villa. He was very curious how I knew where to go. A moment later, the souls of two girls came out and said there was nothing inside. Mi Kyung said Jung-soo really likes this place. A few days ago, there was a car accident in the building where he lives. So Jung-soo asked Hee Jung to borrow this place to celebrate Mi Kyung's birthday. That day, Jung-soo arrived here at midnight. On this side, Ji Hyun looked into the camera and saw me driving home alone. He wondered what I knew. Gyujin immediately called Hee Jung to inform her that I had just arrived at her villa. Gyujin also asked if she had said anything to me. That evening, Ji Hyun and I went to the house to wait for Inspector Kwon to come home from work. Ji Hyun said she discovered something very strange. When Hee Jung saw Mi Kyung's body in the house, she didn't seem surprised or scared. It seemed like she already knew Mi Kyung was dead. Although Hee Jung is a nurse, she must have panicked when she saw her neighbor being murdered. But Ji Hyun found Hee Jung very suspicious. When Inspector Kang returned home, I continued to ask him about Ji Hyun's death. He told me everything. Ji Hyun's best friend all along. So he was pregnant when she suddenly died at Daeho Hospital. Ji Hyun discovered the secret of Detective Gubong, who specialized in photographing grieving families of the deceased. Gubong confessed to Ji Hyun that he was ordered by someone to take photos of deceased patients at Daeho Hospital. While Ji Hyun was searching for the mastermind, an accident occurred. Inspector Kang asked me why. She didn't believe Jung-soo was the culprit. I immediately said that the motorcyclist who hit my mother that day had fled. After that, he threw Ji Hyun to the ground and left. Although Jung-soo caused the accident, he was not the one who abandoned Ji Hyun, because he was somewhere else at the time. At that time, Ian-soo was taking his mother to Daeho Hospital for an emergency because she had fainted in the bathroom. When Gyujin called, she was still awake and alert. Therefore, Su's mother was taken for further examination. So Ji told Gyujin that the daughter of the person who had fallen was a taxi driver who was very close to me. She was known as a filial daughter. When Gyujin heard this, he immediately came up with a new scheme. He went and informed Yoon-so that her mother was not seriously injured, but because she had underlying health conditions, she had to be hospitalized for 2 days. When Gyujin saw In-soo comforting and taking care of his mother, he had a wicked thought. That night, Hee Jung ran after him and asked where Gyujin was going. He said he had something to do and left. Meanwhile, Thun Tra Kang and I went to see Chun-soo. They wanted the police to investigate nurse Hee Jung. When the police asked for the reason, both of them said that on the night of the accident, Jung-soo passed through a toll station around 11 p.m. He had rented a car at that time. Inspector Kang looked at the black box of the rental car and knew that Jung-soo was not the one who abandoned Ji Hyun. Additionally, Hee Jung owns a villa in the suburbs. Although she is an orphan, her university tuition was borrowed from the government. The apartment Hee Jung is currently living in is rented. She lives on the same floor as Jung-soo in the apartment building, and she is also close to him, so Hee Jung might know Jung-soo's whereabouts. Chung-soo doesn't want to accept the clues provided by the two people, because Chung-soo wants to investigate in his own way. But Inspector Kang loudly stated that the police were not the ones who had lost loved ones, so they were not in a hurry to catch the real culprits. Inspector Kang then said that he would investigate Detective Gubong along with the police. I was planning to go with him to meet the detective, but suddenly I received a call saying that Jung-soo's mother had passed away. Gyujin went to the funeral to offer his condolences to Jung-soo. He feigned heartbreak and apologized to her. Young-soo also said that the doctor had tried his best, and then she bowed her head to thank him. Gyujin patted Jung-soo's shoulder to comfort her. Gyujin and I also went to the funeral. Suddenly, Ji Hyun saw Gyujin covering his mouth and laughing, so she told me to look at him. I looked over at Gyujin and saw him sincerely offering condolences to Yoon-soo. Afterwards, the doctor came out to speak with me. Ji Hyun told me to ask why Gyujin was smiling earlier, but I didn't dare to ask that. Dr. Gyujin blames himself for not being able to save Yoon-soo's mother. I bowed goodbye to Gyujin, who refused to answer Ji Hyun's question. I said she must have mistaken him for someone else because no doctor would smile at a patient's funeral. After that, the two of us and the two male drivers bowed goodbye to En-soo's mother. Ji Hyun tried to look around to see if she could see her spirit. The two male drivers told me that Yoon-soo's mother had fallen and had signs of a head injury, but she was fine now. Yoon-soo's mother passed away from an acute myocardial infarction. I remember she had memory loss, but was otherwise in good health. As Ji Hyun and I got out of the taxi to leave, we saw Yoon-soo's mother's spirit sitting in the car. She asked me to call Yoon-soo out. I pulled her out of the car and told her that her mother was here. Ji Hyun then asked Yoon-soo's mother to share a memory that only the two of them knew. Yoon-soo, annoyed that she thought I was teasing her, turned and walked away. Seeing this, I said that Yoon-soo's mother had told me she sang very well on stage in high school. Yoon-soo heard this and turned around. I recounted what her mother had said. She had come to watch Yoon-soo perform but had hidden because she was afraid her daughter would be embarrassed by her work uniform. After that, Yoon-soo drove us into her taxi. I recounted what Yoon-soo's mother had said, that her spirit had now remembered all her memories. She was very happy that Yoon-soo had taken her to work in the taxi. To her, Yoon-soo was the most beautiful flower. She thanked her for being her daughter. Yoon-soo also cried and thanked her for being her mother. The mother continued to tell Yoon-soo to do everything she wanted and that she had to live very happily. On this side, Inspector Kang and two police officers went to find Gu-bong. But when they opened the door, they found Gu-bong lying on the ground, no longer breathing. Chan-suk immediately called his teammates to investigate the scene. At this time, Hee-jung advised Gyu-jin to stop doing wrong things because the police might suspect them. But Gyu-jin told Hee-jung not to worry. As long as they cleaned up the scene, no one could find evidence to accuse them. Gyu-jin also said that Hee-jung was the person he trusted the most. In the past, when Gyu-jin was in middle school, he was constantly scolded and beaten by his father. But Hee-jung wholeheartedly protected him. That's why she killed Gyu-jin's father to free him, and Gyu-jin was the one who killed Gu-bong to confiscate his phone. Gyu-jin also took a photo, which was what Gu-bong kept to threaten him with. When Ji Hyun and I returned home, we found Gyu-jin at home with my grandmother. He said he came to bring her blood pressure medication. Ji Hyun was very suspicious of this doctor's appearance. Gyu-jin asked to borrow the restroom. Afterwards, he became curious about the rooms in the house. When he entered my room, Ji Hyun shouted loudly to call me. When I arrived, Gyu-jin explained that he saw the door to this room open, so he came in to look. He also asked if I ever planned to become a police officer. Gyu-jin was also curious about the old phone charger in the room. I told him it was my grandmother's phone charger. Then, I asked about Hee-jung because I thought she might be Jung-soo's accomplice. Gyu-jin asked if I had any evidence, but I said no. Gyu-jin said that Nurse Hee-jung was a very gentle and kind person. She would absolutely not support a murderer. Gyu-jin thought I was shocked by my mother's death, so I was just suspicious. After saying this, Gyu-jin left. Because Gyu-jin's appearance at my house was so unusual, Ji Hyun and I decided to go to Jung-soo's house to investigate further. We met Mi-kyung, who was also there. Ji Hyun asked why Jung-soo stole anesthetic to inject her, instead of taking her to the hospital for treatment. Mi-kyung said she was very afraid of hospitals. On the last day, Jung-soo left the house. It seemed like he had just finished reading a note, so he rushed out. Perhaps that note was still somewhere in the house. Then, the three of them searched the house. I found a note in a pile of newspapers that said, "Come find me if you need help." On this side, Gyu-jin returned to the hospital and scolded Hee-jung for her careless actions. He presented a photo of the motorcycle. In the photo, a keychain with the Dahong Hospital emblem appeared, and that keychain was in Hee-jung's bag. Gyu-jin said this photo wasn't the original file. Now at the police station, the young officer informs Jang-soo that he has checked the images in Gu-bong's online storage. An found a photo the police never collected. Jang-soo looked at the photo of the motorcycle. He saw a keychain with the Dahong Hospital emblem hanging on it. On this side, when Nurse Hee-jung came home, she found me standing in front of Jung-soo's apartment. I said I wanted to go into his apartment to investigate, but the door was locked. When Hee-jung left, I asked to speak with her privately. Hee-jung made me a cup of coffee. I asked about her relationship with Jung-soo. Is there any special connection between the two of them? But Hee-jung refused to answer that question, as I was not a police officer. As I picked up the coffee cup, Ji Hyun remembered that she had fallen here. She told me not to drink that cup of coffee. I put it on the table and said I couldn't sleep if I drank coffee at night. Then I left because Hee-jung refused to provide any information. When we went out, Ji Hyun said she would go in to see what Hee-jung was doing. Ji Hyun went in and saw her holding a keychain with the Dahong Hospital logo, and there was a photo inside the bag. Ji Hyun came home and told me that She seemed to have seen that keychain somewhere before. Right then, Inspector Kang called to inform me that Detective Ji Hyun had died of poisoning. The police discovered a new photo in his online archives. He then sent the photo to me. I looked at the photo of the motorcycle and saw the keychain Ji Hyun had. Just as mentioned, the next morning, the two of them went to the hospital to investigate Hee Jung. I ran over to Soji and asked if she recognized the handwriting on the note. Soji compared the sticky note to the file she was holding and realized it might be Hee Jung's handwriting. I immediately took a picture of the file Soji was holding and told her not to tell anyone about this. At this moment, Gyujin was also observing from above. Then, he asked Soji what I was doing. Soji lied, saying I had come to borrow money from her. After that, she invited Gyujin to eat spaghetti with her, but he coldly said that he didn't like Western food. Gyujin informed Hee Jung that I had just arrived. Hee Jung also said that yesterday he went to Jung Soo's house to investigate. Suddenly, the police arrived and announced that they would be searching the hospital in connection with the serial murder case. Chang Soo showed Hee Jung the photo and asked if it was the hospital symbol. Hee Jung calmly replied that the keychain was a graduation gift for nursing students at Daehan University. Chang Soo said that the owner of this keychain is related to this case. However, Jung Soo did not graduate from Daehan University. Chang Soo remembers that Hee Jung graduated from Daehan University. She said that most people here graduated from that university. Then, she asked permission from the police and left. Meanwhile, Gyujin arrived at the place where Jung Soo was being held. Gyujin picked up the syringe and injected it into his body. Ji Hyun and I compared handwriting and confirmed that the handwriting on the note was indeed Nurse Hee Jung's. Could she be Jung Soo's accomplice? Ji Hyun said that only when Jung Soo is found will the truth be revealed, but the note cannot be used to accuse Hee Jung. Afterward, Ji Hyun felt her soul melting away. At this moment, Ji Hyun's body was also having a seizure. The doctor administered an inhibitory drug, so Ji Hyun's soul returned to normal. I was worried, afraid she would leave this world, but she said she had to catch the culprit before disappearing. I said I would be the bait to provoke Hee Jung. I showed her the note and said that this was the note she had given to Jung Soo. Now the police just need to examine the handwriting on it, and they will find out who wrote this note. Hee Jung explained that Jung Soo was her beloved colleague. He had stolen medicine and gotten into big trouble. That's why she sent the note to help him, but Jung Soo never came to find her. I showed the photo with the Daehan Hospital logo. Then Hee Jung argued that any nursing student who graduated from Daehan University had this keychain, so it couldn't be used as evidence. I said that if Hee Jung remains silent, I would consider her an accomplice of Jung Soo. I'm giving you 2 days to think about it before I hand this paper over to the police. As I left, Hee Jung felt very worried, so he immediately called Gyujin. As soon as I got out of the car, Hee Ket was knocked down by a mysterious person. I woke up to find myself tied to a chair, and Jung Soo was also lying there unconscious. It seemed he was no longer breathing. Then Gyujin stepped out, sat down, sneered, and said he was the one who killed my mother. Yet all this time, I had considered Gyujin my benefactor, which made him feel very pleased. Gyujin blames me for investigating his crimes, so Gyujin doesn't want to kill me yet. I asked why he kills people. Gyujin said it's just because he likes it. Then, he showed me videos of the victims, families. They wept in pain over the loss of their loved ones. Gyujin himself killed So-hee and Yeon-soo's mother. He has a penchant for photographing his victims before they die. He considers it a hobby. Gyujin told me that after tonight, everyone will believe the serial murders at Daehan Hospital were committed by Jung Soo and her lover, and that the final victim would be me. Because of an accident, he and Jung Soo were burned to death here. Afterwards, Gyujin started pouring gasoline around me, going back to the time before my mother's accident happened. That morning, I was very angry because my mother was sick but still tried to go to work. My mother said she needed to earn money to take care of many things. I said my father died from overworking himself to pay off debts. Now my mother wants to do the same as him. My mother was quite angry when she heard her son say that. I even kicked a taxi before going to school. When I got to school, I wrote on a piece of paper that I would apologize to my mother, wouldn't I? Then I received a message from my mother inviting me out for barbecue. At this time, my mother was taking Ji Hyun to a building when she noticed Ji Hyun looking for a hairpin. My mother immediately took out her hair clip and lent it to her. Ji Hyun tied her hair and went inside, but seeing everyone with their hair down, she went into the restroom, took off the clip, and wore it on her wrist. After that, Ji Hyun went inside to see Hee Jung. She went upstairs to drink with Hee-jung. While Hee-jung went to get more alcohol, Ji Hyun searched her room for evidence. Suddenly, Ji Hyun was apprehended by Dr. Yoo Jin. As she knocked out the doctor, she felt the poison seeping into her body. Ji Hyun staggered and knocked over 2 glasses of wine. Ji Yoo Jin picked up his phone to record her pathetic state, as that was the doctor's perverse hobby. Ji Hyun immediately snatched Goo Jin's old phone and tried to run away. At this moment, my mother, who was talking on the phone with her son, saw Ji Hyun stumble out and fall. She intended to help the girl into the taxi. Yoo Jin stood watching and called out to Hee-jung. A moment later, Ji Hyun also got into the taxi. She accidentally dropped her old phone inside the car. Mom called to inform me that she had to go to the hospital. Shortly after, she was hit by a motorcycle and lost consciousness. Yoo Jin approached and saw that my mother was still alive, so he immediately squeezed her waist tightly. When the building security guard ran to check the situation, Yoo Jin told him to call an ambulance immediately. A moment later, I ran over and pushed Yoo Jin down, but he explained that he was an emergency doctor. He told me that my mother had been hit by someone else's car. My mother tried to tell me everything, but she didn't have the strength left. Yoo Jin pretended to be worried and started performing CPR on my mother. When my mother was taken into the ambulance, Yoo Jin wouldn't let me ride along because there was no more space. I was going to drive my mother's car, but I needed to secure the scene, so I hailed another taxi. While Yoo Jin and my mother were in the ambulance, Yoo Jin secretly injected a vial of medicine into her. At the same time, Hee-jung, wearing a helmet, approached the taxi. She put the unconscious Ji Hyun on the motorcycle and left the scene. Meanwhile, I was in another taxi but got stuck in traffic, so I got out and ran to the hospital. Inspector Kang was on his way home when he saw Ji Hyun abandoned on the street, so he called an ambulance. When I arrived at the hospital, my mother was no longer alive. Returning to the present, Yoo Jin lit a lighter and set fire to the gasoline on the ground to burn me. Then, he walked out. Ji Hyun tried to untie me, but she couldn't. She used her soul to protect him. At this moment, 2 police officers and Inspector Kang had also arrived at this location. Seeing the flames raging inside, they used fire extinguishers to put them out. After the fire was extinguished, the rescue team carried Jung-soo's body onto the vehicle. I was safe because Ji Hyun's spirit protected me. At this point, I informed the police that Yoo Ji-jin was the culprit. All the victims at Daehan Hospital have been murdered by him so far. It turns out, I had installed a tracking app on Inspector Kang's phone beforehand, so they both knew each other's movements and locations. That's why the police were able to get here. Meanwhile, Yoo Jin is hiding far away, observing the situation. He calls Hee-jung to set up a meeting. Ji Hyun came home and apologized to me for her. His mother had just passed away. Then, Ji Hyun went straight to her room. I intended to open the door and go in, but I thought Ji Hyun needed some space to think, so I decided to leave her alone. Ji Hyun looked at a photo of me and my mother and burst into tears. I sat outside and said if my mother hadn't met Ji Hyun, she might still be alive now, but her death wasn't Ji Hyun's fault because she was also a victim and was pushed into this situation. Moreover, Ji Hyun saved my life just now, so you don't need to feel guilty and avoid me anymore. I hope you won't cry anymore, because the 2 of us need to make Yoo Jin pay for his crimes. My words greatly improved Ji Hyun's mood. She walked out and said that the 2 of us had to catch that bastard Yoo Jin. Dr. Yoo Jin was also the one who attacked Chung. He gave Chung a bottle of a nutritional drink. Chung trusted him, so she drank the bottle. Afterward, she felt dizzy, so when Chung climbed the stairs, she fell and died. At this time, Goo Jin was meeting Hee-jung. He reported that I was still alive. He clearly saw a large fire, but I wasn't burned to death. The police then came to investigate. At this point, Gao Jin felt worried for himself, but Hee-jung comforted him, telling him he had done nothing wrong. She will protect Yoo Jin. Hee-jung advises him to hide somewhere far away. Yoo Jin is confident that he was careful enough that the police will not find any evidence to convict him. The next day, Yoo Jin went straight to the police station to make a statement. While Hee-jung waited outside, she remembered she had promised to help Jung-soo before. As soon as he injured Yoo Jin, Hee-jung drove Jung-soo to a house for a temporary hiding place. He asked Hee-jung to go home and check on Mi-kyung for him, as she was likely very worried. Yoo Jin denied all the police's accusations, and he said that he hadn't killed anyone. Then, I went in to confront Yoo Jin. I said that he had kidnapped me and intended to set a fire. He intended to blame Jung-soo for everything. Yoo Jin even showed me videos of the victims. But Yoo Jin asked why I would want to harm him. This made me incredibly angry. I angrily grabbed Gyujin by his collar. But then, the police announced that Gyujin had to be released because there were no security cameras at the scene of the fire, and Gyujin also had an alibi. I am very angry with the police's decision. Gyujin walked out of the police station with pride. He got into Hee-jung's car to leave. Ji Hyun was very angry at Gyujin's arrogant attitude, so she asked me to restore the phone. She remembered that Gyujin had filmed himself with that phone on the day of the accident. She was sure there were more clips on the phone. I said that recovering the phone's data was impossible because Ji Hyun and I had gone to the phone repair shop last time. When the phone was about to be restored, Ji Hyun's soul was about to disappear, so I stopped the repairman from restoring the phone. After that, the two of us went to see Hwang Sung together. Hwang Sung told me not to touch the phone, or Ji Hyun would disappear immediately. Humans don't naturally carelessly touch cursed objects because it carries many risks. On this side, Yoo-jin returned to the hospital and told Hee-jung that he planned to install this camera in his taxi because Yoo-jin felt he had discovered something. At first I asked him if he knew Ji Hyun. He also saw me standing talking to myself. I also wandered around Daeyeon Hospital the whole time. Yoo-jin doesn't understand how I know about the villa and how he even escaped the fire. I also investigated many of Hee-jung's secrets, so Yoo-jin finds me very suspicious. That night, after Ji Hyun got home, she kept begging me to restore the phone because they couldn't let Yoo-jin live like that. I absolutely refused. I thought Yoo-jin would save the original videos on a USB drive or computer, as that was his preference. He will have to watch the videos regularly. At this moment, outside, Yoo-jin is also using software to break into my taxi. He installed a hidden camera on the roof of the car so he could see and hear everything in this taxi. The next morning, Yoo-jin checked the taxi's camera and saw me talking to myself. He saw me run into the house to get a phone charger for Ji Hyun. I plugged in my phone charger and said, "This is your lifeline, Ji Hyun." Yoo-jin saw this and thought I was crazy. Mi Kyung appeared and told me and Ji Hyun that she had told the perpetrator it wasn't Jung-soo. She begged the two to take her to Jung-soo. When the three arrived at the previously burned down warehouse, they saw Jung-soo's spirit sitting there. Mi Kyung happily ran to hug him. Jung-soo also realized that his lover was dead. Mi Kyung said that after he left the house, someone entered and injected her. Jung-soo realized it was Hee-jung because before he was brought here, he had asked Hee-jung to visit Mi Kyung for him. Jung-soo gave Hee-jung the apartment password, and it was true that Hee-jung had injected Mi Kyung with the final dose. But this time, Jung-soo was furious and desperate. He felt that Hee-jung and Gyujin were truly too cruel. Not only did they kill Jung-soo and blame him, but they also killed the person Jung-soo loved the most. Then, Jung-soo's soul began to dissipate in black smoke. He swore he would never forgive those two villains. Mi Kyung begged Jung-soo not to abandon her. Ji Hyun and I told her to go to heaven with her lover. They promised to find a way to make the two murderers pay for their crimes. Jung-soo said that when Hee-jung led him into the villa, he had a headache, so he recorded it. But Jung-soo sent that recording to his grandmother's phone in the countryside. That recording could help me. Afterward, Jung-soo and Mi Kyung went to heaven together. Ji Hyun and I went to Jung-soo's grandmother's house. Joo-jin observed the camera and discovered that I had taken the audio clip Jung-soo sent to his grandmother. The audio clip showed Yoo-jin arriving at the villa to apprehend Jung-soo. I immediately sent this audio recording to Detective Chang-soo. I comforted Ji Hyun, assuring her that even though they didn't have the original videos Yoo-jin recorded, this audio recording was enough to prove that Jung-soo was framed by Yoo-jin. Ji Hyun and I then went to the hospital together. Ji Hyun went to the office to look for Yoo-jin, but she couldn't find him there. Both of us wondered why Yoo-jin had disappeared so quickly while the police were preparing to arrest him. Yoo-jin might have been monitoring my every move, so he knew about the recording. Then, I ran to the taxi to look for him. Yoo-jin was also tracking him through the camera. Then, I found a hidden camera in the taxi, so I told Yoo-jin that I would definitely catch him. After that, I stomped on the camera. Ji Hyun and I went to Hee-jung's house because they were sure she knew where Yoo-jin was hiding, but Hee-jung refused to provide any information. I took out my phone and said it fell in my taxi. I thought Ji Hyun dropped the phone earlier. I threatened that I would hand it over to the police tomorrow morning. The data in it will help the police find the real culprit, and they will arrest Yoo-jin. Hearing this, he and John stood up and declared that she would do everything to protect Yoo-jin. He said she was just a puppet Yoo-jin used to carry out his wicked intentions. But Hee-jung burst into laughter. She was proud of what she and Yoo-jin had done together. Hee-jung's attitude made me angry, so Ji Hyun and I left. Hee-jung hurriedly drove to where Gyu-jin was hiding. I followed behind in my car. Hee-jung drove to an abandoned warehouse and ran inside to meet Gyu-jin. Hee-jung said I was holding the phone. I intended to hand it over to the police, so Hee-jung urged Gyu-jin to escape quickly. He asked her to get the USB containing the original videos for him. Hee-jung also drove away. I said I had to go inside to buy time before the police arrived. I went in to see Gyu-jin. I told him I would hand over Gyu-jin's old phone to the police, so he wouldn't run away anymore. Gyu-jin picked up a hammer and attacked me repeatedly. He knocked me down and snatched back the white phone he was using. I got up and hit him. The strong impact caused the phone to fall and turn off, so Ji Hyun disappeared. I quickly reinserted the battery. The phone, I was hit hard by Gyu-jin again and fell. He took back the phone and turned it on. A current emanated, allowing him to see Ji Hyun's soul. Gyu-jin immediately asked her, "Are you truly Inspector Ji Hyun? Are you a ghost?" Only then did he realize that I wasn't crazy, but that the two of them were always together. Yet Gyu-jin thought I was crazy and talking to myself. Now that I'm awake, Ji Hyun came to ask about my condition. Gyu-jin approached the fire and asked if I was a true demon. He intended to throw the phone into the fire. I begged Gyu-jin not to do this. I kneel and beg Gyu-jin to return my phone. Gai-jin said that he had killed my mother. How much pain would I be in if I lost Ji Hyun now? But Gyu-jin enjoyed seeing the despair on others' faces when they lost the person they loved most. Having said that, Gyu-jin threw the phone into the fire. I reached my hand into the fire to retrieve the phone, but because it was too hot, I couldn't do anything. The phone also exploded, and Ji Hyun gradually disappeared before my eyes. This made me desperate, and I could only scream in pain. At this moment, in the hospital room, Ji Hyun also showed signs of waking up. She opened her eyes. Gyu-jin intended to pick up a weapon to attack me. As the police appeared and took him to the station, I was taken to the hospital to have my burned hand bandaged. When Inspector Kang came to ask about my health, I cried and said I had been with Ji Hyun's spirit. Her soul is in the phone that just burned. Ji Hyun told me not to tell Inspector Kang about this because she was afraid her father would be heartbroken to know his daughter was wandering. After speaking, I bowed my head and apologized to Inspector Kang for not being able to protect his daughter. Inspector Kang heard this and immediately took me to another hospital. They entered the room where Ji Hyun was being treated. I touched her face. I couldn't believe Ji Hyun was still alive. Inspector Kang said that when Ji Hyun was admitted to the hospital after the accident, someone had tried to kill her again. He guessed the person must be Gyu-jin. Therefore, Inspector Kang transferred Ji Hyun here for further treatment. I burst into tears seeing Ji Hyun was still alive. At the police station, Gyu-jin denied all the police's accusations. He stated that he did not assault me or kill Jong-soo. He also said that the voice on the recording was not his. Afterward, Gyu-jin was locked in a cell. On this side, I was holding Ji Hyun's hand. I remembered that the two of us couldn't hold hands because, at that time, Ji Hyun was still a ghost. Then suddenly, Ji Hyun's hand moved. She opened her eyes and looked at me. I immediately went to call the doctor. At this time, Hee-jung went to the police station and confessed that she was the perpetrator who had killed a series of patients at Daehan Hospital. Inspector Kang informed me that Ji Hyun's heart rate and health had returned to normal. She had also opened her eyes and called for her father. I anxiously asked if she recognized me, but it seems Ji Hyun doesn't remember me anymore. Hee-jung showed the phone containing the original videos, the heartbreaking photos of the victims, families, and the black box memory card from my mother's taxi. Later, she confessed to the police that she herself was responsible for the deaths of all the victims, and that this had nothing to do with Gyu-jin. It was all caused by Hee-jung and Jong-soo together. Jong-soo changed his mind and threatened to reveal everything, so Hee-jung killed him to silence him. Afterwards, the police had no choice but to release Gyu-jin. He walked out and passed Hee-jung, who was being escorted to prison. Inspector Kang received a call informing him that Hee-jung had confessed to being the perpetrator. That night, Hee-jung sat alone contemplating. The next morning, the warden found her lying on the floor. Beside her was a sharp knife and a letter. Chang-so heard this news and immediately informed his subordinates to conclude the case, as Hee-jung had left this world in her cell. The next morning, when Gyu-jin arrived at the hospital for work, he received prejudiced looks from his colleagues. So-ji informed him of Hee-jung's death. So-ji didn't believe Hee-jung was a serial killer. Suddenly, So-ji announced that Inspector Ji Hyun was here. A few days ago, Ji Hyun had been transferred here for treatment. She was in a coma. but now she's responsive. Gyu-jin is extremely curious as to why Ji Hyun is still alive. He returned to his office and thought for a long time. Then, he took 2 syringes and went straight to Ji Hyun's room. As Gyu-jin was about to inject Ji Hyun, she suddenly opened her eyes. I appeared and knocked Gyu-jin down. When he was about to hit Ji Hyun, I protected her. Gyu-jin ran out and took Soji hostage. He took her into the elevator with him. The police saw this and rushed to follow. Gyu-jin went down to the lobby and stole a car. He drove off, leaving Soji behind. I got in my taxi to chase him. Father Suk requested assistance to apprehend Gyu-jin. The 2 policemen and I pursued Gyu-jin intensely. When they reached an intersection, the police car got stuck behind. I continued the chase, informing the police of our route. Many police cars also blocked the road. They raised their guns and demanded Gyu-jin stop. I drove the taxi past and swerved. The unexpected incident caused Gyu-jin's car to crash into the roadside barrier. He pushed the police officers away and held a sharp object to his neck. I rushed to restrain him and said Gyu-jin couldn't die that easily. He had to face the consequences of what he had done. Gyu-jin was then arrested by the police. Ji Hyun later visited Gyu-jin. Gyu-jin said that even if he died, he would come back to kill everyone. I said that I wasn't sure if he would be released from prison to get revenge. Ji Hyun worriedly asked about my burnt arm. Earlier, I had asked Ji Hyun if she remembered me, but it was okay if she didn't remember because I was just happy to see her alive. Ji Hyun immediately grabbed my hand and said she remembered everything. How could she forget the person she loved? I immediately hugged Ji Hyun. Ji Hyun then told the 2 police officers that Hee-jun had confessed and left this world. Therefore, it is now difficult to convict Gyu-jin. The police should use Ji Hyun as bait to make him act. If Gyu-jin saw her alive at Dahyun's hospital, he would surely come and kill her. A few days later, I held Ji Hyun's hand as we walked down a snowy road. Ji Hyun asked me how much I loved her because I remained silent and didn't answer. Ji Hyun kissed me on the lips. I pulled Ji Hyun's hand and expressed my feelings. Afterward, the 2 shared a sweet kiss and held each other tightly. Meanwhile, Gyu-jin sat sadly in prison. He could now see ghosts. Many souls who couldn't pass on appeared continuously. They also came to find Gyu-jin to release their hatred. Ji Hyun returned to work. She was transferred to Chang-soo's Major Crimes Unit. The Major Crimes Unit received information about a new case, but Chang-soo told Ji Hyun to rest and start work again tomorrow. Ji Hyun refused to eat with her father to go on a date. I took Ji Hyun bowling with me and my colleagues. I said I usually bowl with my mother, so I wanted to play this game with my girlfriend too. Everyone was happy. Ji Hyun and I went to see Hwang Sol. He was surprised that both of them were in love and still alive. Ji Hyun thanked him for helping her regain her memories when she was a ghost. I wonder where my mother's soul is and why she doesn't visit me. Hwang Sol rang the bell and said that my mother was still trying to keep her last promise, so she couldn't leave one place. I drove to the barbecue restaurant, the place my mother had promised to take me before she passed away. I saw my mother's spirit here, so I called her name. My mother was also very happy that her son could see her. I apologized to my mother for being late, and then both mother and son burst into tears. Mom told her son to live happily. Ji Hyun, standing beside me, also apologized to my mother. Because of Ji Hyun, she had to die. If it weren't for Ji Hyun, she and I would have lived happily. But my mother told Ji Hyun not to blame herself, because it wasn't her fault. This made Ji Hyun sob. Then, the 3 of them sat down to eat grilled meat. Ji Hyun and I told my mother everything that happened. My mother asked Ji Hyun to take care of me for her, saying that thanks to her, she could rest in peace. My mother told the 2 of us to eat grilled meat. I immediately put a piece of meat in my mouth to please her. My mother recalled that I had said I really wanted to come here, but because the food here was too expensive, she couldn't bring me here to eat. Now my mother's very happy to see her son eating so well. Only then did I express my love for my mother. If there is a next life, I still want to be my mother's son. At that time, I would not have made my mother sad and would have tried to be filial to her. My mother was touched and said that in this lifetime, I was already a perfect child. You will always be my motivation and happiness. As soon as my mother finished saying these words, her soul was liberated. At this moment, my grandmother was dreaming of Ji Hyun. When she woke up, she was very confused because the dream felt too real. Afterward, I took Ji Hyun home and introduced her to my grandmother. My grandmother was very surprised to see that my girlfriend was the girl who appeared in her dream. She happily embraced her future daughter-in-law. The next day, I waited for Ji Hyun outside the police station. She said she was investigating a missing person case. I said I would help her solve this case. Then, he drove away in the ghost taxi. I drove to a bus stop. I stopped the car and asked the woman wearing glasses, but Ji Hyun didn't see anyone outside. Then, the woman moved into the taxi, so I informed Ji Hyun. Ji Hyun asked if she was the woman who had gone missing in 1999. The woman confirmed it was Ji Hyun, and I proudly introduced ourselves as those who clear the names and fulfill the last wishes of spirits. And this vehicle is called a ghost taxi. Ji Hyun signaled me to ask a question. Then, I asked the woman if she had money to pay for the taxi. She said they still wanted to get money from the ghost. The woman has been here for 20 years. She knows a place where the gangsters hide money nearby. Ji Hyun then signaled me to take this guest. I agreed and started driving. After that, the two began to fulfill the ghost's wish. Today's film ends here. See you again in the next videos.